Hi, I'm Edwin.
I'm Jack.
Jamal.
And I'm Martin.
Welcome back to the 950 Club.
That's the first time I ever said my name on the intro, by the way.
Really?
That is, yeah.
Really? Oh,
Well,
you know what?
usually
Yeah.
goes into like,
The wire quotes.
the wire quotes or like some randomness.
Some work rant that lasts for 30 minutes.
Look, no one's going to take your wire quotes away from you. Those are
No.
the best.
But Tony Khan, apparently, with his
You know what?
deep knowledge of
He's
Marlowe.
such an idiot. Okay, let me talk about this for a second.
Oh.
Because okay.
Here
So
we go.
Tony Khan, he's the owner of AEW, who's trying to compete with WWE,
Partial
but
owner of Jammers.
he's never going to be able to compete with them. So he says like, "Ooh, 2024 is going to be the greatest year. Remember, I told you." And then he does the quote with Marlowe where he's like, "My name is my name," and I'm like, does he not know that this dude is the most untrustworthy dude in the series? Like, you can't trust anything Marlowe says.
He just likes to quote.
He just knows the meme.
Yeah.
Don't be disrespectful. If the only my name is my name that we acknowledge is Marlowe and Pusha T. You know I'm very touchy with my wire, and he made me mad by using that because he doesn't understand the context. It bothers me.
Oh, just like wrestling, he doesn't know the context.
We're gonna get to you when we stream. We got something for you.
Oh, they've got something coming for you. So, all right. And today we'll be talking about Frieren, which is probably one of the best fantasy animes to come out in quite some time.
Ever.
Yeah. That's high praise, sir.
I
I think an argument can be made. I think an argument can be made because this is probably one of my favorites. I still have a Faraway Paladin in recent memory. But yeah, this is Frieren kind of like takes the cake on it because
What kind of cake?
huh?
What kind of cake?
dessert?
The type of cake matters because
Type of cake matters.
yeah, because like if it takes the cake and it's like a trash cake, like
Like,
it's
I'm
just
talking
like,
red velvet here. I mean,
okay, red velvet's a good cake.
yeah, I
Okay.
think we're talking red velvet here because I don't think that I've ever seen a show manage to do what Frieren does so well. The use of flashback is kind of amazing.
Yes,
yeah.
it's not your typical flashbacks.
No, not at all.
No.
You have two adventures going on at the same time.
Yes.
And those flashbacks to the previous adventures with Himmel the hero and all of them really kind of showcase poignancy to Frieren's current journey with her companions, Stark and Fern, in a way that I don't think I've ever seen any other show do. In most anime, I mean, and I think one of the more recent ones I can think of is Jujutsu Kaisen, where the characters are introduced and you'll have a flashback showing essentially what their motivation is and
Right.
how they got involved, especially in the second arc in the
Shibuya incident.
Shibuya incident.
Yeah.
But I think in Frieren, it's even more so. Like the whole show is her journey to not only get to know humans better and to form those relationships, but why that's so important to her. And that comes from all of the flashbacks to where she gains a level of understanding based on what Himmel was trying to do and was trying to show her. And it's only like almost 80 years later where she's taking in these lessons and making those realizations.
Yeah, well beyond 80 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that movie-
50. Well, I'm talking about 80 years after their journey has ended. Together.
Yeah, so yeah, he dies.
30, almost 30
80
years
years
after
after
his
the journey.
Himmel
Yeah,
the
because we're
hero's
talking
death.
about like 90 years. Because I think it's so they adventured for 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then once they left, she came back 50 years later.
Correct.
Because that's when the meteor shower
Yes.
was happening.
And she was joking that I'll see you in another 100 years.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's
And
not.
then I think everything that happens is well, they start counting after his
Yeah,
death.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was about
Yeah.
to say that his death is kind of like the calendar.
Yeah,
It's like everything is like post
his death.
his death.
Yeah,
Like not to like I don't want to sound like
morbid.
No, like I don't want to sound like a heretic here,
No.
but it's kind of like before Christ, after Christ.
Oh, that's not a heretic. I mean, that might be for you, but
Like,
yeah, we get it. We understand what you're saying.
I don't know who's listening, and
Yeah.
I'm not comparing Himmel to Jesus.
No.
Yeah, but
I'm saying
Before
the
Christ,
way-
after Christ.
the way the show works is
Yeah.
like his death is kind of like the starting point of a new time.
And also before, before the death of the Demon King, after the Demon King, there's that timeline too.
Well, because his death is actually the beginning of her
Yeah.
journey.
Yes.
That's the demarcation point where
And that's why we got the title Beyond Journey's End.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why I don't think it's really that heretical to say it, because they're not trying to set up like a new date structure. It's such a personal journey
Right.
of
her.
Frieren. And like every time she thinks back on him, that it makes sense that they keep track of it using the date of his death, because that's when she started kind of really realizing that she wants to understand this world and the way Himmel kind of looked at it, because the way they considered the world seems so different, especially, and you see that a lot in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like Himmel, I love the running gag of Himmel wanting statues of them everywhere.
yeah.
Like, yeah, we're just gonna make statues. I'm gonna make every single bronze sculptor hate me and my entire party
Yeah.
because they're gonna get me right every time. And I love that running gag. But like the reason why he's like,
Yeah.
people need to remember us, and she's like, no, they're not.
Yeah,
And
good
I
call.
don't-
Good call.
I
It was
don't
something
think
she
that-
didn't. It's something she didn't understand.
Yeah.
Because he has to constantly reinforce to her. He's like, we don't live very long. Like, you'll remember because you're going to keep going and going, but we live. After time, people are going to forget, and she sees that early on when they have to clean off his statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the old lady is like, we used to do it and keep it clean and everything, but now people have just kind of
They
forgotten
forget.
about it.
Yeah, they forget.
And
'cause,
that kind of jogged her memory for a flashback for
And,
her.
and the good populace of the people in the country don't recognize Frieren.
Frieren?
no, yeah.
Frieren, yeah.
Well, I
they
mean,
don't.
because a lot of them have forgotten, but
Yeah.
A lost
There's-
legend. Yeah.
there's an episode that happens later on where she goes to this village and there's a little dwarf guy and he's like protecting the village.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that
he
was
makes
good
a
episode.
comment. It's like, who's going to carry my memory into the future?
Mm-hmm.
And she has that moment. And another point I wanted to make about like Himmel's death is that's when she realized how apathetic she was throughout the entire journey.
Yeah.
And it's that moment where she's like, wait, like I didn't get a chance to know him as well as I wanted to know him. And the whole journey is part of that regret. I mean, I don't know if this was what Himmel was intending to do, but I think the statues weren't so much for the people
It was
as
for her.
much as they were for her. Those statues were for her. Because he comes across as very vain.
I think he mentions that at some point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And she comments it too. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when she starts to cry. It's at his funeral and she realizes, like, wait, he's gone.
Yeah, I didn't know him.
Yeah, I didn't know him the way I wanted to know him. I didn't get to know him the way I wanted to know him. Why didn't I do that? And so this is kind of like her journey to like actually get to know people, whether it be Fern or Stark or Sign. It's like this is her chance to engage with humans where they're at instead of like, like, oh, these are just people. And then in the blink of an eye, they'll be gone. And the show is about engaging with them on a much deeper level. And it's kind of weird, the parts when they go back to Flamel, because it's like, wait, she's spent time with a human. She's been trained by a human. But it's like, how was that relationship really? How did that relationship go? Because Flamel was kind of an ass.
Well, yeah.
She was
A
kind
little
of an
bit.
ass.
I didn't think about it when I was watching the anime, but now that you've said something about Himmel kind of building those statues to kind of remind Frieren, and he was doing it partially for her, that makes a lot more sense when you consider as the flashbacks throughout, especially the first season, you start to realize, the viewer, not Frieren, but the viewer starts to realize Himmel was in love with Frieren.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Oh, yeah.
that it comes across more obviously to the viewer because we're sitting there and we're analyzing all of these little bits and pieces. But Frieren is just really bad at reading people. And so you can kind of tell that she's remembering these things and she's feeling fondly about these memories. But the question of whether or not she's kind of putting the dots together is much more ambiguous.
Yeah.
because she obviously misses Himmel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love Hyder. He's hilarious.
He's OG. He's awesome.
The corrupt priest running joke is hilarious.
Yeah, but those background reviews just show you more and more of the humanity of the rest of the party. My favorite joke, my absolute favorite joke, was when she's talking to Stark and she's like, "Yeah, warriors can survive whatever drops, can't they?" And then she remembers what's his name, the dwarf, Eisen. Yeah, she remembers Eisen just jumping off a cliff and like slamming into the ground. And everyone's Hyder's freaking out because he's trying to climb down a rope, and Himmel's freaking out because all the wind he kicked up. And it's such a perfect moment just to show like the irreverence that she has for her party as opposed to literally everyone else.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's one of the beauties of the show. Like, even though this is about 18 episodes in, we're still analyzing the early episodes and the little Easter eggs they kind of throw in there. Hitler, I have a theory, is like beyond powerful. And they don't show like him in action per se. They show Eisen, they show Himmel in spurts, and of course for Frieren. But Hitler has 2 moments where I'm like, you know what? I think this guy might have been the only guy to take care of the Demon King.
Well, when we see signs,
he is I was going to say, well, he is powerful, and you get that from Sign, and I think even the other elf that she runs into.
Yeah.
I think he even brings up Hyder as well. Yeah. So Hyder definitely is powerful.
Well, he definitely like becoming the priest of the holy city.
Yeah.
The main priest of the holy city. That was like a big deal, and obviously, it was probably because he was in the hero's party. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like we had, like I'm like, all right, so what does he do as the priest? And it's like you don't see that until you see Sign. And that's when you start to think, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah. And of course, how he technically rescues Fern, he recognized potential. And part of me thinks that Hitler knew all along what Frieren needs as a party member, or at least a friend.
I think they all did. I think they all saw, because she had kind of like run away from the world.
Drifted off. And she's always been a drifter.
Yeah, she kind of drifted off. And I think in that drifting, she kind of got lost in a sense, where it's like she wasn't awake to the possibilities.
She was obsessed with very obscure skills.
Well, no, I mean, like, just human any kind of interaction.
That's what I mean.
Socially, or like...
She was fixated in simple things, like things... People don't understand.
We had this conversation with Jesse.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah, where like all of them, whether it be Fern, Stark, or Frieren, like they're kind of orphans.
Yes,
and so they haven't been kind of socialized the way, like within families and communities and stuff. And so Frieren kind of just had Flamel to like teach her,
whatever her name is.
I think it's Flamel.
Flem. I always thought it was Flem.
I thought it was just Flamme, right?
Is that Flamel?
Like flame.
That's flame.
Like flame. That's what I was
but
thinking.
they always kept saying it kind of like Flamme.
Flamme.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I think it's like Flamme. I don't think there's an L at the end.
It technically is.
It's just Flamme.
It's an ancient name as it is.
Whatever. Who cares? But we know who you're talking about.
Well, her mentor.
But all of them had like really weird
upbringings.
No, they all had like really weird ways of understanding family, and like which caused all those miscommunications. Like Frieren, her entire village got wiped out. So
similar to Eisen,
she had that almost disassociation with the world because she's always been kind of alone.
But at a certain point, it became a choice.
Yeah, and Hyder, he wanted that solid connection, which is why he was always involved with
orphans.
With orphans.
Yes.
With orphanages and orphans and things like that. And then
I don't know if he wanted that connection or he was just trying to make up for what he had done.
Oh, maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And then Eisen, when he started training Stark, he was god awful at communicating. And like explaining to him what Stark means to him. like with the whole Hamburg steak thing, where Stark didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
You know, he's just like, oh, that's just what you do for people on their birthday. It's like, no, that has like cultural significance that Eisen just was really bad at about communicating
with all that trauma too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Himmel was there for all of them.
Yeah.
He was there to be that, like, to show them the humanity of these things. He would be able to convey having his Hamburg steak on the day you were born is important for this reason.
Yeah.
And that's what he was to everybody, and that's why they were drawn to him so much.
And that's one of my favorite things about the show too. Like everyone having that standalone episode, peeling off the onion layer, like their birthday. Everyone had like a birthday episode, and everyone had their like distinct treat for their birthday and a gift exchange. Frieren, what she gave to Fern, you know, the cute little ornament, and Fern giving back to Stark, and then Stark figuring out, oh, Fern wants a birthday present.
Well, that goes back to what Martin said about when the Hamburg steak. He just didn't know.
Yeah.
He didn't understand these things. So
Because-
he's like, he knew from that conversation with Eisen, like, okay, birthday. But he was just like, I don't
That goes back
know
to
what
the
to do.
point that I was making about Frieren in the first place, where it's like they haven't had these things. They haven't had these kind of people in their lives to show them like, hey, this is what this means.
Yeah.
This is something special. This is like, you know, this is how you show that people are important to you. It's those connections. It's those small connections that Himmel was trying to make along the way with her, whether it be that little hair crown that he made for her, or the spells that, you know, like the different things. He was trying to show her, A, like Martin said, that he was absolutely totally in love with her. And then B, that he was trying to show them the value of these connections. And Frieren just wasn't like, she wasn't getting it at the time. She wasn't getting it because she was still in the mindset of like, this is just like blink of an eye stuff and I'll be back to my...
And a mission in hand too, to get rid of Demon King. I know.
I think the Demon King was like the. I think getting rid of the Demon King is the most least noteworthy thing that they did on a personal.
But the irony being the epic scale of the story, like Lord of the Rings, like taking down Saruman.
Well, that's the thing about this story. Generally, you would think of this as the journey is the story. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case with this.
No.
It's the opposite. It's like the journey is... It's after the journey where the story really begins.
Yeah.
The Demon King is a footnote.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a MacGuffin.
I'm sure we'll see a crazy battle at the end of the series, and it'll
that's
be fun.
That's a good segue into like, if you're gonna watch this, if you haven't watched this show, oh my god, like, you know, we're making it sound like this is like the most relaxing comfort anime
Character
of all time,
driven.
character driven. But then when you get into the magic system and when you get into those battles, you're like, oh fuck, this is on par with like any other action
Jujutsu
anime.
Kaisen.
Yeah. Like Jesus Christ, the battle with those demons in that border town was like insane.
Yeah.
Like even just when she's like in the third or fourth episode, when they go to fight that demon mage, Zoltrak, or like whatever spell he's using.
Fourth episode,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
around
this
episode
is
4.
nuts.
Speaking of that, and you just reminded me of Stark's fight with the dragon.
That was impressive
awesome,
too.
Yeah.
One thing I really love about all of that is I really love how they tie into the lore of this show with all these action scenes, the progress of time. Because that crazy mage that they fight that worked for the Demon King, his death magic just ended up becoming like his crazy advanced death magic just kind of became regular magic by the time he was unsealed.
Because he was unchecked.
Stark became so much stronger than Eisen that, without realizing it, that he was able to take out the dragon and not realize he did it.
Yeah.
He thought he just stunned it.
And all of it was practice and the basics, at least with Fern's case and Stark's case. Stark did one drill. Keep on doing with that canyon.
Well, Frieren, when it comes to the whole magic progression that you're talking about, Frieren actually makes a comment to the demon mage. I think Gol, what's his name?
Oh, the
one that was in prison.
Yeah.
She's like, in those 80 years, this is what the humans have done. And it's almost like...
Qual.
Qual?
Okay, the one in prison.
she's like, humans live on a different scale than we do. Because he even makes a comment. He's like, oh, a mere 80 years. And like for him, that's a mere 80 years.
Yeah.
But for humans, it's like they
It's a lifetime.
advance faster because they're working together than alone. They were able to take his spell, understand it, create defensive magic against it so that it wouldn't be a problem, and then use it as offensive magic. And Fern, man, this show is insane. When Heitler tells her, if you can hit that rock over there, she destroys that rock.
Yeah,
It's across the other side of the valley, and I'm like, how powerful is Fern?
that's the beauty of the show as well. That was the mid episode cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're good. You're gonna have a fun, jolly old time, quiet time with Frieren and have a grand old adventure. But no, that's like no.
Yeah.
I think yeah, you're pretty powerful.
Yeah.
It was mid episode, but they talk about how much time. Like that was 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 4 years.
In one episode.
That was 4 years worth of time.
Mid episode 2, and then the following episodes, that story where she finds the blue weed flower for Himmel.
Time in this show is insane.
It could be a little
Jarring.
It could be a little difficult to keep up with. Like there were times I had to like rewind and pause and like take notes of okay. Now we're at 22 years.
And
after
that's
him.
literally the only
Now we're
flack
at-
I have in the show because the subtext
It goes
is
by.
small.
It goes
It's
by
small.
really quickly.
Yeah, as well.
I had to pause it.
You have to pause
Because
You
I
have to pause.
think they do that because they want to translate from the manga. That's the only rational thing.
No, I mean I think it's important to have that gauge of time,
Yeah.
but
It
they
is
don't.
because
No,
so much-
I mean
yeah.
I mean more with the detail. Like when you see it in a big screen and you're sitting like beyond your chair, you have to go look close at the TV to see the ear.
because it's important.
Very
Yeah.
extremely.
It's like sometimes like the person that's yelling isn't going to get things across as the person that's like very monotone in here.
Yeah,
Because you have to come down and really pay attention to what they're saying. And it's like a thing where it's like we can have it big across the screen, but you'll just overlook it trying to get to the next scene. If I got it up here in the corner where you really got to zero in and pay it, now I'm forcing you to pause this because you know it's important.
Yeah.
So that it plays a role.
Literally the first frame, they showed the map and Flemmi's quote with Frieren, like the Holy Lands where the undead can come back to life. So that was a couple episodes later where she mentions that quote. It makes you then engaged with the story and everything.
So yeah, like just circling back to Qual, like I wrote down something that Frieren said. She said he killed 40% of the adventurers and 70% of the mages.
Yeah.
Before like they sealed him.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you like how fast they progressed. That's a lot. 40% of the adventurers and 70% of the mages. And then when he came out, they're just like, poof,
Yep.
you're done.
Yeah.
That also kind of explains why Frieren can't keep track of the mages guilds.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, she mentioned that in the last, not the one that just came out, but the one before. She was like, there's not as many mages after the Demon King pads.
No.
died. There's just not a lot of them anymore.
But they're not needed.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not needed.
Exactly.
I mean, they seem to be able to deal with monsters for the most part.
Yeah, and there's no like inner turmoil. There's no civil war going on either. No,
And
it's
you
just
still have the priests that have their like holy
That are still
spiritual
walking
energy
around. Yeah.
that they can use.
there's corrupt mages though, and we find that in the last 2 episodes. So makes you think.
Martin didn't see the last one. Don't say anything about
No,
it.
no. Well,
I'm just messing with you, Jack.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was a good. I had mixed feelings about that because it's like it's a trope to have.
I was about to say
Like,
it kind of brought me back to Alchemy that God Kill in
Yeah.
a weird sense.
Yeah, I can see that entirely.
Yeah, kind of like it's kind of modern more than you think, and there are hints along the way, like with Frieren's scarf. You know,
Yeah.
that's a modern look.
Well, yeah, it was like I'm like this is different for this show.
Very.
to go in that direction.
Very,
Yeah.
because we're so used to the environment, we're so used to seeing the fantasy creatures and stuff like that.
Well, we're not used to seeing this whole battle royale school thing going on.
As well.
And I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. The way it, and without giving any spoilers to anybody here, I do like the way they're handling it because it's very Frieren in the way that they're handling it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, back to the lessons, like Martin brought up, like the basic principles and stuff. Yeah, like defense and offense, like you use defense 90% of the time compared to offense.
Yeah.
And it's the basics with the offense.
Figuring out their magic.
Yeah.
Figuring out their magic, figuring out how magic works.
That was actually my favorite Frieren sequence when she was learning defense because it showed that Frieren, she basically.
Oh, you mean Fern?
Fern.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Fern, how she's like, no, I can get this over with, but the master is wiser. And she's like, take your time.
Yeah.
You let them use their mana. And then sure enough, suppressing your mana.
That was an interesting episode.
That was very interesting
Yeah,
when she
that
went
was-
up against what was her name?
Oh, with the scale demon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Alicia or
Arole?
Aura.
Aura.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
Aura.
really cool.
That was awesome. That was an awesome fight.
I really liked what they did with demons on that one, where it's like demons
Yeah.
haven't really evolved all
No.
that well.
It's very
after
unique.
They became sentient.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, it's all about magic is might. So like,
Yeah.
you want to subterfuge. Like subterfuge is the best way to beat them. And I thought that was a really clever way of doing it because I was watching that entire fight between Fern and that one demon guy. What's his name? Luther. And he's just wondering the entire time, how does she have the mana to do this? And I'm sitting there like, yeah, how does she have the mana to do this?
It's just like boom, boom,
Martin,
boom,
you're
nonstop.
Yeah,
fight.
Martin, you're pretty wise picking up those things. It impressed you. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
but that's something that Frieren said about her before. She's like, she doesn't have a lot of mana, but she has like excellent control
Over it. Mhm.
So she's very good at. So she can do that little because she can control like how much she's throwing out until it's just like boom.
Yeah, and then back with the demons, like you can tell they're advanced, like they can take care of business, but they're missing that one thing, and it goes back to biblical times. So like the first sin, pride,
Arrogance. The
arrogance,
yeah.
overconfidence. It's
Yeah.
just oh my god, so oh man.
I thought Stark was gonna die. I was really worried about him. I'm like, man, because I'm not sure if this show is willing to kill off its main characters, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Dingy Stark.
Huh?
Dingy Stark.
Dingy.
I call him Dingy
Yeah.
Stark
Dingy Stark.
because he looks just like
He
Dingy.
does look like Dingy. He does. It's kind of like yeah. But I thought he was a goner in that episode. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
they're gonna kill him off.
Fern, I was confident. Something about Fern like keeping up in her own pace, kind of thing.
I think at some point Fern's gonna be just as dangerous as
She
Frieren.
is.
Yeah.
She is.
She is there.
Yeah.
She is. I mean, Frieren saw it in her. Like just during the years that she was training when they were with Hyder, she saw it in her. She knows that Fern is going to be like the best mage ever at some point.
Yeah,
Like I think
so.
she sees a lot of Flamme in her. So
Yeah, she might end up being the most powerful mage of her time.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's why she wanted her to do the first class mage thing. She's
Yeah.
like, no, you do it.
Well, watching that, and this is an interesting arc because you get to see all these other mages.
Yeah.
And you're even getting flashbacks for some of them.
Yeah.
And that's interesting too because you haven't really seen that much of the world from outside of like Frieren's like viewpoint.
Only that soldier dwarf. I'm trying to think of like other side characters had backstories.
Well, it was temporary.
Yeah.
But these were all those were still all people that she's already met.
yeah.
So
Good call.
she's going back to them because she's like, oh, I know a person over here, or ooh, it's cold in these mountains. I know somebody that has a cabin over there.
Yeah.
Like so, they're already people that she knows and has
Interacted
met.
with,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, because that dude was waiting on her to come back.
Yeah.
But this is different because we're getting viewpoints from like other people, and like there's one guy who's like, oh, he fought the remnants of the Demon King's army, and it's like, well, yeah, they wiped out the Demon King, so it's like just because you fought the remnants, it doesn't mean a whole lot when you come up against Frieren, who fought the Demon Lord himself. But it's fun to see, like Martin said, in the passage of time, this is what these people have become famous for. It's like, oh, you fought the remnants of the Demon Lord, Demon King's army, but you're not like, you're not like the original heroes. And it's like, how will you stack up? Like, how will any of these people stack up when they finally do come face to face with Frieren, Fern and Stark? Because I think at some point, that's what's going to happen. There's no way that these mages are going to be happy with the end results of whatever happens because I just don't see it happening.
But yet the number one thing I care about most about the show, and even though those things are like top tier, beyond top tier, even like turning into like awesome things of their own right is the romance. Like, I want to see that conclusion.
Man, Jack, really? The will they, won't they? You know they will. You know it's going to happen, but this is...
But how? But how?
What do you mean, but how?
Like, will she see him...
In a flashback. of
No,
course.
no. More like if she sees him back alive in ghost form or human form.
What?
What are you talking
They're
about?
going back
talking
to the
about?
land of the dead.
What are you talking about?
Well, he's
Are you talking about the
he's
romance
talking
you're
between
talking about
Frieren
Frieren
and
and
Himmel?
Himmel.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking
Not
about further
that number one.
start.
Well,
No, that one's
You
kind
didn't
of
make- you
a
didn't
little
make that
too
very
obvious.
clear.
Like, that's not a will they won't they. That's
Yeah.
a win.
No, it's not a will they won't they. The entire purpose of her going is because they said in one of the earlier episodes she meets back up with Hyder and Eisen, and they say they have a mission for her. And when she meets,
because they're communicating.
Yeah, when she meets up with Eisen again, he's like, and she's like, "Hey, is there anything I could do for you?" He's like, "Yeah, go over here to this land and talk to Himmel."
Yes.
So it's not a will they won't they. They will.
But how?
So what happened was they saw how distraught she was
Yeah.
at the funeral.
Yes.
And they knew,
They
I think
plotted.
they had some inkling as to how Himmel felt
Yeah, they knew.
about her.
They knew.
And realizing that she kind of felt the regret, they're like, all right, we're going to find out. We know that, like, from the very first episode, Flamel or whatever her name is, her mentor had been able to speak to the dead.
Yes.
There.
Yes.
And
In
so
Ariel,
Yeah.
which they call heaven. Yeah.
And so they spent all that time trying to find her notes, so that it could lead Frieren in that direction.
Yeah.
But the question is, it's like Himmel's dead, so it's like what awaits her there at the end.
Thus the how.
And like, will she pull an Obi-Wan Kenobi or an Anakin
Yes.
and go all Force Ghost on us?
Yeah.
And live happily ever after with Himmel in heaven?
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Exactly.
But
There's those
I
so
don't-
many
I don't
routes.
know that I'd
That's-
be happy with that.
See, that's such a minor thing. Like, that's a thing where you want to get to the point where she's able to interact with him, but like,
But then you kind of don't.
after
because-
that, but after that, it's like I don't do. That's the end of the story.
yeah.
No, I know.
There's nothing you could do from there because it's not like.
But it's so fascinating how they do the flashbacks of her registering what Himmel is trying to convey and show. Even he has a hard time saying, "I love you."
Yeah, but I mean,
The passage of time.
Well,
he
because
does. I think
I
part
don't
of it
think
is
that
I don't think she'd be receptive to it.
Yeah, a direct confession
Yeah.
from him would
I don't
have been
think
like.
I know.
she'd just be like, okay.
He just
Matter of fact, she'd probably push it away.
Yeah.
because it's like you're gonna die, so
Well,
it
he
doesn't
spent
matter.
that time planting the seeds of like what he was trying to say,
Yeah,
and she just didn't pick up
Yeah.
on it until
W-
it was
w-
too late.
Whereas Stark and Fern, what was the new priest's
Sign.
Sign. His quote is the best quote in the whole show. Just start dating already.
And then he chugs the beer.
Yeah.
well, because he's the only adult. But it's like as Martin and Edwin said before, he had that structure to a certain extent because he
Yeah.
had a brother,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he had a dad that died, but he had that structure, so he understands these relationships and these cues that they don't.
Yeah.
So in episode 18, where they're kind of going back and forth and they're fighting,
Yeah.
and Frieren's like, "Hey, you need to go like solve this problem between them."
Yep.
It's like I need a favor.
And she's like, she's like, it has to be you because you understand this.
Yeah.
And it was just as simple as like
Interviewing
he
both.
put his cold hand on her face, but his arm was on her shoulder and it was pushing her down and it scared her.
Too
It was
sudden.
too
Too
strong.
sudden. Yeah.
And so he's like sitting there like having these little talks with him, and he's like telling him like, look, you need to understand, like, she wants to have that interaction with you. And then he's like telling her like, you can't be as tough on him. He doesn't know. He's a puppy out of water. He's a fish out of water.
Yep.
He doesn't know what he's doing. Like, you have to calm down and be firm. And then they apologize and everything's fine.
Yeah. And they had that quote.
They're kids.
They had that quote collectively, like, we're just socially awkward people.
Well, they are. They are. They all
really are.
And it's because of they're just like you said, they're all of them are mostly orphans.
Yeah, and I like how he finally decided to do his own journey, and Like I kind of want that for future, like the newer characters, kind of interviewing with the big three, with Stark, with Frieren, and Frieren. Then they kind of leave and do their own thing.
Well, her getting him to go on the journey was what she wanted in the first place.
Yes.
Because she noticed a lot of her in him. And she's like, no, come on with us. And she made him come.
Yes, initially.
And then, he realized like his true journey is to find his friend Gorilla. Because that's who got him on this path. And so, he would have continued on with them. But where they were going, and when they found out where he was, it was in complete opposite directions.
Yep.
So he was like, you know what? My true journey is over here. So I'm going to go over there and find him. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see them later.
Yeah.
But,
or even side
but
episode,
the biggest takeaway from that is she convinced him to just stop wallowing being this priest that you don't want to be and go find your friend. Yeah. That was the key takeaway.
Yes. Good call.
She was essentially Himmel for him.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
She brought him back into the world. She was like, "No, dude, you're gonna waste your life here, having accomplished nothing." And so she pulled him, kicking and screaming, out into the world, and he took to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We all have people like that. Like my friend Tony, rest in peace. He was like that person for me, where it was like, if I was in the house too long or I ain't respond enough, like he would just come on, let's go get breakfast.
Yeah.
You've been in here too long. Let's go.
Yep. Let's
And
do this.
if you have those people that just bring you out, like, all right, you've been insulated long enough. Let's go. Let's do something. Let's get you back into it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, but you enjoy it. It's like my dad. He hates visitors.
Yeah.
Like you'll be like, all right, I'm coming by. He'll be like, no, that's not a good time. But as soon as you show up, it's like he doesn't want you to leave.
You drop his guard.
It's just like sometimes you just need people to like kind of bring you back in.
Getting you over that transitional hump,
yes,
I think is the thing. Yeah, because
you can't pull yourself out sometimes. You need somebody to help you up.
Yeah.
So Jack, I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask Martin.
Ooh, okay. Who would be your favorite character and why?
That was it. I thought you had something.
In Frieren, I want to say my favorite character is Stark.
Yes.
Dingy Stark.
Because I love the exploration of this character who, in a way completely different from Frieren, has kind of the same issue of I just don't understand people, and how he overcomes that because he's young. He is a coward. And the way he overcomes that cowardice is just fascinating to behold, especially with this whole slew of characters who are blind to their own issues, but at the same time, they have an understanding of their physical capabilities. Whereas he understands who he is, but he doesn't understand his physical capabilities.
Yeah.
He's the only one, I would argue. Yeah.
And that was the thing when him and Fern was fighting. That was, like you said, his physical capabilities. She was like his arm was too strong on me.
Yeah.
And it scared me. He didn't understand his physical capabilities.
And when he was fighting the demon, what's her name? Linnea?
Yeah.
When he was fighting...
Linnell?
Linnea. I think it was like Lina.
Yeah. When he was fighting Linnea, he was horrified because she knows all of his master's moves.
Yeah.
But then once he realized there's no weight behind them, like, yeah, she knows what she's doing physically, but
She doesn't have the strength.
she doesn't have the strength to pull it off.
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating because that let him set up, like, taking a hit in order to take her out.
He can deal the pain, yes.
And, like,
Counterpuncher.
in a weird way, like, they all have their misunderstandings regarding social cues and all that. But he seems to be the one where, even if he doesn't understand other people, he understands himself really well. But he doesn't understand, like, mentally. But physically, he just doesn't. And everyone else seems to have, like, the opposite problem. And I love seeing that dichotomy, and I love seeing how he deals with it. And I feel like that's something you can only get through Stark at this point in the anime.
He's also really good at being the comic relief.
Yeah.
His timing.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, his timing. Yeah.
But something that, like Martin said, like, You even see him expanding his knowledge in people, because what is this, episode 17, when Fern was sick and Frieren was like holding her hand and she got embarrassed and was like, don't hold my hand. And she's like not understanding why she doesn't want it. And Stark is the one that steps up and he's like, look, man, sometimes people just need emotional support. And he's the one that recognizes she wanted that, but it was because I was there
Yeah, it was
that she
embarrassing.
got embarrassed.
Yeah.
And he had to explain like emotional support to her. And it's like, you know, a hand holding might not mean much because it's like you don't understand how that heals somebody, but it's bringing them that emotional comfort.
What's interesting too, because she didn't want to be babied
Right.
in front of him. Like if it had been just her and Frieren, like
It
she
would've
would have
been
been okay
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
being babied. But she wants to seem like an adult
Yes.
in front of him.
Exactly.
And that's an interesting point too,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Yeah.
it speaks volumes to their relationship. Yeah, she doesn't want to look weak in front of him, but if Frieren hadn't been there, what would have happened if
Yeah.
he had held her hand?
And then when he was talking to that king, like that major lord.
Yeah,
Duke?
he was an interesting
yeah.
character. I liked him.
What
Yeah.
episode was that? 16, I think.
The
Or-
mid-
That was later.
The
No,
mid
that was
arc
before.
That was
yeah.
like the 7, 8, 9 range.
Yeah, that was
that was a really good one because
Grand Graf.
Yes.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
which one? Oh, that wasn't interesting. Those I'm thinking of later on when he pretends to be that guy's son.
yeah, that's the
it.
That's the
episode.
one. The
Oh,
second
okay.
one. The second
Yeah.
one. Not the demon arc.
Well,
Gotcha.
even in a demon arc, when he interacts with the guy, the head of the city,
That lord, yeah.
those were interesting. He's like, "How dare you talk to me?"
I
I'll
like
remember that.
I like
but
that.
Like, yeah,
I like that lord.
their interaction.
And that scared him because that's it reminded Frieren of like the first episode when she was like, that happened to Himmel and
yeah, they spoke.
Yeah.
They spoke rudely to the king. And
Yes.
And almost
said-
died. Yeah,
and Ison and Frieren were like,
yeah. That was a good connection,
Yeah.
but I mainly wanted to talk about the second lord that he got involved with because
Yeah.
that one was a lot more emotionally charged.
for Stark,
Yeah.
especially.
You know, especially for Stark, because his biggest struggle in that episode is honestly learning to dance. But him getting taught by the Lord in swordplay and talking to him about his other son who's alive and who is in training to be the heir as well, and trying to get the father to connect better with his new heir apparent son and kind of get over the fact that his
Own father.
older son had passed, and you know, you got to let that go. And he's like, well, yeah, but this is his last request. You know, I'm gonna put up this charade with you because that's what my son wanted. He's like, yeah, but what about your other son?
Yeah.
And-
Bring it back to the focus. Yeah.
And I really love that because it really does show Stark gets it.
yeah.
He gets it. Like, he gets how he pissed off the first Lord and why that was a problem, even if it was after the fact. And then he understood what was going on with this new Lord and trying to put on airs while dealing with his new heir. And the scene at the very end where he sees the father and son doing their sword training at the end hit a lot harder for me because of that.
Yeah.
Because that was the point where I was like, okay, yeah, Stark is my favorite character.
Yeah, I think even at some point during that, he tells the dude, he's like, I'm not your son. I can't be your son, but you have one out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
So,
does.
like, he
just-
got
you
so
just have to
used
train
to
him.
Stark playing
Being there,
that role that he was like, look, I'm leaving. I'm not your son.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not sticking around.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not like, yeah. He's like, I can't be this for you.
And then with the parallels from Stark's original village of his heart father and his older brother, you know, it's just to show how it merges not only time, but, you know, the sequences with these characters is like, this is meant to be. I'm supposed to see this right now. I'm supposed to understand what's going on and learn from it because I've experienced it before per se. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the relationships with his father. Yeah. That's an interesting question. Jamal, who would be your favorite?
I never thought about it.
Neither had I.
it's and I do admit it's still early to tell kind of thing. But for Frieren, that's
See,
mine.
I think that for me, this is kind of like one of those shows where the whole is greater than the parts.
I get that. I get that.
They all are so enmeshed with one another that it's hard to like take away. Because if I take this person out, I need this person in to make my emotions for this person.
And it's really interesting because all of the characters kind of relate and stand on other characters because they've interacted with them.
Yeah.
Like I find Fern to be really interesting because she has like her own memories of Hyder.
Yes.
And what he was like to her. So she wouldn't see him as the corrupt priest.
He's sober. He's sober.
Adventurer. Yeah.
Well, by the time he gets her, he's sober.
Yeah. That Frieren would have saw him as. So that's really interesting to me. But they still have that connection. And as they go along, Frieren is like remembering her memories of Hyder. And those are going to be different from Fern's, but there's still that connection. Same thing with Stark and Eisen, where it's like he has that connection to him. Frieren has that, and it's a totally different like relationship that they had because Eisen treated him more like a son and an apprentice, where he beat the crap out of him.
And he had a lot of negative memories of Eisen.
Yeah. So it's like
and he didn't really understand that Eisen was really proud of him, but it's just the way he went about it.
Yeah.
So Frieren had a complete opposite.
It's like being a father and a teacher. I'm a teacher to you, but a father with.
Well, Jack and I are watching an anime this season called How Not to Use Healing Magic.
Yes.
I have that on my list. I'm watching that.
Martin, you would love the show.
Which is kind of the similar thing where it's like this guy is being like, the training is like almost abusive, but this person actually cares for him.
And she's the same voice as the Major. So, I love it.
Oh, speaking of voices, I cannot watch scenes with Eisen in English without just mentally screaming at the fact that it's the same voice actor who does Ain's old gown in Overlord.
Wow.
Because he has literally no voice differentiation.
Wow.
His voice as Eisen is exactly the same as his voice.
There's somebody yelling outside the door right now, and we're all trying to figure out.
Retake.
What's happening?
There's no retake. I love this. We're all trying to figure out who this dude is because I can't see him, but I just hear him telling
could
people
be
to
political.
Die.
I think I heard
he's screaming.
I heard political overtones.
That was a real CTA moment.
CTA.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a CTA moment.
That was crazy.
But yeah, it's really hard to watch scenes with Eisen talking to Frieren or to Stark because every single time he starts talking and all I can picture is Momonga from Overlord because he has the VA has no voice differentiation. He sounds exactly the same in both. And it doesn't help the fact that both of those anime are made by Madhouse. So, like, the fact that I know Madhouse made Overlord and made Frieren just makes me look at this dwarf and just picture him as an undead lich as he talks. It's weird.
I haven't watched any of the English, and I'm okay with that
neither.
on this one because I'm not sure what that would be like.
Yeah, for Frieren, she's Anya and Vivi.
Yeah, see?
Okay, that's got to be interesting.
Yeah. No, she's that range. Like, Vivi is a little bit more monotone, and then Freyren's just a little bit more character, especially when she has her goofy, silly moments, like the naked potion kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for the English version yet.
Well, I watched it in Japanese, and then I rewatched some of it in
English
in order to kind of freshen up for this podcast. And see, Freyren's fine because that voice actor has voice differentiation. Like, I can disconnect Frieren from Anya. I can't with Eisen. I almost called him Momonga because the voice actor doesn't try, like, to change his voice at all.
Okay,
and it throws me off.
And especially a character like Eisen. Eisen's you can definitely try something different, like have a resounding cadence, like a nice tone.
Yeah, guttural, like
if you wanted to,
especially with the Japanese.
Yeah. I just that's going to be a totally different experience. So I haven't.
I'm down. I'm definitely going to.
I haven't set down that path yet.
Yeah.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
Fern's English VA is good. Stark is whatever.
Is that too wacky? Yeah.
Most of the English voice acting is actually fine. It's just Eisen. It's just Eisen.
Eisen's the only thing that bothers you.
Yeah, because all I can hear is Overlord.
If I'd like to picture like the casting, like Heitler could be like Colonel Mustang, Genko, his voice actor. I keep on forgetting his name.
Well, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know what
his
yeah.
thing for. I could see him like doing crazy.
That would be
things.
pretty cool.
I feel like Heider's personality comes across a lot better in Japanese.
Okay.
Than in English, but the English VA is competent. He's good, not bad.
Okay, cool.
I feel like Fern has the most personality with the English VA.
That's cool.
Which is interesting because I think she has the least amount of personality in the Japanese.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suppressed.
Vocally, I think she has the least amount of personality.
You can tell that she's suppressed, subdued
Vocally.
compared
Yeah.
to
Vocally.
Frieren. Yeah,
But
Compared to
she's
Frieren.
more that her expressions. She's much more expressive.
Yeah.
But she's not very vocally.
But yeah, like in Japanese, when Freyren's like, yeah, let's spend the next decade in this village. We're gonna need to get jobs.
It's like 3 months. That's
Yeah,
it.
and she's like 3 months.
Yeah.
But in English, they changed it to 1 week. Like she is so adamant. She's putting her foot down with Freyren, and
Yeah.
it really comes across.
She,
really
she
well
knows how wondrous she could get.
in the voice acting.
Well, we mentioned this when we talked with Jesse, and in many ways, she kind of has to mother Frieren.
Oh, yeah.
Because
A
it's
lot.
like you cannot sleep for 18 hours a day.
No.
We need to move.
Yeah.
Get up. It's time to eat. She's putting blankets on her. She's like, no,
Dressing her,
get away
combing
from
her
there.
hair. Like, yeah, pretty much.
Don't fall for the trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lap pillow, the whole gag with the lap pillow. That's pretty much like
Oh, that was hilarious. She's like, I can't see the sun.
Ah.
I can only see half the sky. that was a good
well,
joke.
the earlier.
And that plays out over the course of like a few episodes because she's like, oh, I'm taller than you now. She's like, that's not all. You know? And she's like, and so that was a funny gag because even like in the earlier episodes, you don't see that. But as
Right.
Fern starts to age and Frieren continues to use her lap as a pillow, and she's just like, you know,
Well,
that sigh was like heavy with, you know.
but also the comfort. And one of the other outer layer mysteries with Frieren is basically her family, her initial family before they died. So it might be a missing link for all we know.
That was a really interesting episode. Like how she was able to, the amount of mana she had to be able to hold
Yeah.
off an entire demon army and be the only one left in her village was like, it's something that you'd want to watch, but at the same time, it's been like, that's
A
gonna be-
heart punch.
Yeah. That's going to be hard to watch. Yeah. And so I can't wait to see like where this show goes and like what they end up doing because it's like I'm there for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this first class mage thing is going to go on for a while. And I'm like, okay.
You get at least 2 more episodes.
Yeah.
out of
But
this,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to what's after that
Yeah.
more than I am to that.
I don't know how much is after that because they're right there on the cusp of
They've caught up to the manga?
Huh?
Have they
I don't
caught
know
up
if
to the
they've caught
manga?
up to the manga, but they're right there on the they're there.
Right.
They're just doing this exam thing.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the OPs in the first one and this one as well single the first main villain per se. So we'll see where it goes.
You have
The
any
pink
more-
haired demon. I was.
You have any more questions for him, Jack?
What will be your main takeaway, Martin? What will be like your ultimate like thing about the show to tell the masses?
I want to say that from the biggest takeaway anyone should get from Frieren is that it's all about understanding the magic, understanding other people, understanding themselves, and the importance of like connecting to it all. And that's what Frieren's trying to do, and I feel like that's a really powerful message because honestly, I feel like, yeah, a lot of people just don't understand like what they mean to each other, and like exploring that is so good, and it's something you don't see as often in anime. Because, you know, people kind of know their connections to each other. Like, I'm sitting here, I was reading a bunch of memes about Boruto earlier today. And I never watched Boruto, but I did watch way too much Naruto.
You ain't missing out on much. You know what? It's just now starting to get good, but you ain't missed out on much. The first like 150 episodes are trash.
But when watching Naruto, all the characters kind of already know what they mean to each other. They don't really explore that, and in a lot of anime, they don't really explore that. So I really like seeing this in Frieren. Like I really love the way they kind of examine and understand, think about what they all mean to each other.
All right, Martin, I have a question for you. So this was kind of like something that we kind of went back and forth on when we were talking to Jesse. Because I said, I think a big thing in this show is kind of like the burden of immortality. And I felt like that kind of drove Frieren in the beginning. And that was the main source of her apathy. Because, like, I'm immortal. I'm here by myself. Even when she met that other elf, and it's like, you would think, all right, we would want to try to get together, repop. They're just like, I'll see you again in 1,000 years. And they had that discussion where it's just like, elves don't really form a lot of relationships because everybody tends to die off. And so I thought like a big theme of this show, and for her, was like that burden of immortality and how like that had fueled her apathy, but Himmel changed that and made her want to explore humanity more.
I definitely feel like the disconnect of time for an immortal is incredibly important in this anime. Because that is why she was like, yeah, I'll just see you in 50 years. We'll go watch the star shower, you know. And then because especially when later in the season, when you see her training with Flamme and how that mage just got old on her in no time flat. To the point where she knew they both knew she's gonna die. Like she's an old woman. She's pretty much on her way out. And then next thing you see is a couple hundred years later, her meeting Himmel and Heider and Eisen and their party, and Heider not being able to recognize her mana level because of her training. And it's like, wait, how much time passed?
1,000 years.
Like 1,000 years? Like this woman became a legend? Like fake grimoires are being made in her name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Time is so important in this anime. And the fact that it took going off and doing whatever for 50 years and then coming back and like seeing the physical proof of Himmel just being an old man.
Yeah.
Really drove home in the very first episode. Yeah, no, time is crucial in this. Because most people don't really go into what it means to be immortal. Like,
Right.
even in Tolkien, you don't, like, they talk about it, but you don't really feel the weight of it like you do in this anime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
that's one of the things I appreciate about this anime too, because it's a callback to Lord of the Rings. And Jamal recently saw The Fellowship, and you remember that scene where Gandalf is going to the tower to research the ring?
Yes.
In the book, it takes over 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, in the movie they make it like it's nothing, but that's fantasy time. Like fantasy
Right,
time is just its own take.
Right.
And Freyan is just like it's almost like a refreshing, like, I understand now. Like, this is time.
Well, we get access to a lot more than other people would.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's randos who will walk up and be like, oh, like there's somebody in the village and they're like, oh, this is the statue of this person. Dude, we know. We know. We got a front seat to we have a front seat to this. I think in a way that and I think that's part of the charm of the show.
Yeah.
Is like we saw her with her master. We saw her with Himmel. We saw her when we know these people to a little bit more than anybody else. But like Martin said, we also see it shows you the closeness and the interpersonal relationships of these people, but it also shows you how the world views them. Like Frieren is our connection to like all of these people, but it's like how she sees them. Like, her master, her mentor is like the most famous magician of all time. And like Martin said, these fake grimoires. But like Frieren is like, she was grouchy. She was grouchy. She was a grouchy,
A different side of history.
Yeah, like the real, like the the real
lady,
yeah, like she was there for the real, and she's the only one who has that perspective. And it's interesting because she wasn't always appreciative
Right.
of like being there in the moment. And so she has this perspective and she can carry their memory on into the future because she was there. And I think part of this journey is her learning the importance of that, where like people will forget and people won't know, but she'll know. And as long as she knows, then she can carry some of that with her.
Yeah, she kind of you see that, like Martin says, like time is so important here because there's been a couple times where she was walking along and people were like, yeah, there was this mage that was part of the heroes party, and they were describing her and they didn't even know it was her.
No.
But she doesn't understand that, like, for her, it's like, this happened in my lifetime. It might have happened 100 years ago. It's not that long, but that's a couple generations for these people.
Yeah.
That we have to pass these stories down to our kids and down to their kids. And it's like, oh, I heard this story, this legend that happened so long ago. You don't even recognize that the person is standing right in front of you.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference in time.
It's like when she walked into that village. Yeah, this is the statue of the heroes party.
Yeah.
You know, you look a lot like their mage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
get
ear.
that a lot.
It's the ears.
Yeah. Like I get that a lot, you know.
And then there was the whole thing of, why is the hero's sword still in this stone? Like, what? Why did you all lie to us? It's just like, who cares? We killed the Demon King.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Himmel didn't let not pulling that sword stop him. Why
Right.
should I? Why should I call
care.
that out?
Yeah.
How people make their own legends and understandings.
Yeah.
Which I want to see. I want to know. It doesn't really matter what happened when they fought the Demon King, but it's still interesting that Himmel was almost his own force of nature
Yeah.
in that he was able to bring all these people together and show them like he had like this zest for life that like none of the other ones had.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know. I don't want to say like chaos, but he was definitely a facilitator for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah, and he made, not only did he bring, like you said, he brought them back out into the world, but he was also, I think, forging his own path. Like when he couldn't pull that sword out, I think you could see like the doubt,
Yeah.
but he's like, I'm still going to do this. And I think that was part of his, because he's kind of vain. He's kind of like
Kinda?
He took a whole hour to make, or a whole day to make one statue. Or no, a week? Was it a week for that one statue?
It was an entire day of posing.
Yeah.
Of trying to decide on the pose.
And he just did the basic pose.
Yeah. He was vain, but I don't think he was vain just to be vain. I think he was vain into like building himself up because it's like, all right, I might just be this kid from this village, but I need to like find that within me if I'm going to take on the Demon King.
Kind of like fake it till you make it.
Essentially, yeah.
So now we got to find out Martin's favorites, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
all right, so we'll do a segue. So we've all done our favorites of 2023.
Favorites.
We decided
Favorites
to do, yeah.
of 2023,
We decided
not
that was
best.
much easier for us just to do our favorites of 2023 instead of trying to do quantitative best
Yeah.
of. So it would be like, what were your favorite anime of 2023?
If we do it best, it'll be at a panel.
I'll do 5.
All right.
Okay.
Any honorable mentions? Anything that didn't make it into your top 5?
Yeah. A playthrough of a certain dude's VR MMO life.
Okay.
Okay.
I saw that one,
That's
but
an
I didn't
honorable
watch it.
mention because it's fun. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's one of those where you could just pop it on and it'll pass the time. But like, there's not enough strengths in that anime for me to be like, yeah, no, it was my favorite. Especially after I started watching Shangri-La Frontier.
Yeah.
Because
It did it better.
That one, it was kind of doomed to not be a top contender as soon as that other anime
I mean,
came out.
Even Sword Art Online's not sacred against Shangri-La.
Jack, you're biased against this, so
Yeah,
you don't
man.
care.
And that leads me into my number 5, which is, Am I Actually the Strongest?
okay.
Because that one for me is kind of like popcorn. I can just throw it on in the background and just kind of enjoy it. It's not doing anything particularly special when it comes to isekai anime, but what it does really well. Like, it establishes he's insanely OP in a way that's kind of really funny because he's OP, but no one understands how or why. Like, he's a level 2. Why is he so
Strong.
good?
Yeah.
You know, the harem anime joke tropes are cliche, but they're fun and they're entertaining, you know? I feel like that anime, it's just an anime and it just does it really well.
Now this is the one where he has the little sister.
Yeah, it's
and
the one
Charlotte
where he's
and like yeah.
yeah, he's reincarnated and he just wants to be lazy. But unfortunately, like meeting the wolf demon girl and then trying to protect his new family's like province in order to keep his family alive and happy, and you know, getting back at his bio mother for like being evil and abandoning him.
Yeah. There's a real Snow White element to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good anime, and it does really well at like setting up its plot, setting up its humor, setting up what it wants to do, and just doing it well.
Yeah, I'd read the manga. I had read a few volumes of the manga for this one, and I really enjoyed those. I love that he ends up in that, is it ReZero outfit?
Oh no!
Oh yeah, that doing all the Sentai poses.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
That was a lot of fun. Well, it's at his sister's urging because yeah, he found a way to live stream anime from Japan into this other world.
and then she becomes a massive chuny.
Yeah, and their whole like, I can't wait to see like their own little. They've essentially created like their own little demon society, monster society there, and it's like I want to see how that plays out in the larger story. That'll be fun if they ever do a season 2.
Yeah. So that's my number 5. My number 4 is Zom 100.
Yay!
Okay.
That was a popular one at this table.
Wait, hold on. I just want you to know that was not in Jack's top 10.
11. It was number 11.
The shark
You can yell at him if
zombie
you want
is
to.
the single best thing
Everybody
I've ever
loves
seen.
the shark zombie.
Yeah.
But honestly, I used to work a job. It was at a chicken plant. I'm not going to name it. I worked 11-hour days, 13 days straight, you know, with then 1 day off and then 13 more days. And it was insane. Like at one point at the end of when I was doing my taxes, I kind of realized that the previous year I had only had 23 days off.
Wow.
And I understand the main protagonist's like struggle with a toxic work environment.
That never stop grind. Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
you should have been here the last recording because I had a nice little monologue about work.
I remember.
Yeah.
I listened to that. But I was able to connect to that anime in a way I really shouldn't have been able to. Like
Dude,
it was.
we all did.
I couldn't get past the episode where he encounters his old boss.
Oh yeah.
Like
Edwin
that,
refused to see that through.
yeah,
He
that
refused to see it through.
that moment right there was like I last year I had my own issues with work last year to where when I got to that episode I'm like I don't know if I can watch this. I don't know, like, because I felt his panic when he freezes and he doesn't know what to do in that moment. I completely and totally understood that because he came face to face with his toxic boss and was like, I'm like, all right, I can't watch this right now because this is way too real for me at the moment. And so I had to like hit the pause button and like I have to go back. I know they've finished, everybody's finished it, but at some point I'm going to have to go back.
And the live action on Netflix, horrible.
Yeah.
Tragically bad.
Yeah.
Which,
it was,
surprising no one.
Tragically bad.
but I did use that live action to get a couple people to actually give that anime a shot.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
you know what? I was
It was the zombie shark. It's always the zombie shark.
Yeah, I had a friend that was confused, like, "Oh, have you heard about Zom 100?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, the anime. I'm glad you're finally checking the anime." No, bro, the Netflix movie. I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah, you know what? I was watching Brandon do one of his Twitch streams, and one of the people in it was like, "Hey, have you seen Zom 100?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's a great anime." They're like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly. Same
They're
reaction.
like, "No, the movie." And I'm like, And that's what caused me to watch the movie, and it was so gloriously bad. But you know what? Brandon's doing a XCOM 2 series right now on his Twitch. I don't know, Jack, you know that.
I love my XCOM.
XCOM's great, yeah.
Okay, you're number 3.
My number 3 was Goblin Slayer Season 2.
That's my honorable mentions.
That
No. Hold on. He had 10 honorable mentions.
Yes.
He did not mention this show.
Nope.
That does not count.
No, you didn't.
We didn't officially go over it, but that's not time and
You
place.
cannot, Martin. Can you please?
Explain
If we have a top 10, how many honorable mentions can you honestly have in a top 10?
like 1 or 2.
He had 10.
He had 10.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He
Yeah,
had
top 10
essentially-
honorable mentions.
Yeah.
It's really more of a top 20.
He had a top 20.
Well,
He
I
had a top
mean,
20.
Jack and I both put Trigun in our honorable mentions, even though we both talked that anime up during its run.
Because you guys are hype bombers.
Well,
You're a hype bomber.
the ending, the final seconds they mentioned Billy is coming soon. It's like,
No.
No,
That
it-
is no.
don't do this to me.
So, let me just get on a tangent before I talk about Goblin Slayer.
Fair.
Trigun was my honorable mention because it's a good anime. It's really entertaining. I really like the new art style. But I watched Trigun, the original run, when it was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And I kind of realized I liked the more episodic nature of the original more. So it wasn't a Jack explanation, but it was just my nostalgia goggles kind of got the better of me.
No, that makes sense.
Thank you, Martin.
So essentially what you guys are saying is that neither of you are willing to see this show on its own merits, but are comparing it to
No,
your memories
I
of
am.
the
No,
original.
I'm
think
willing to
he's-
see it on its own merits.
yeah.
My problem is I don't care enough about the relationship with Millions Knives to watch 13 episodes about it.
Oh, okay.
Or 26
That
episodes
as well.
about
That
it.
as well,
Yeah.
yes.
That relationship, that conflict should not be the central point of an entire season.
Thank you.
It's not bad, but it didn't hold my attention for the whole season.
So that's why-
At a point I kind of went, I kind of don't care.
Okay. And so that's why it doesn't make it into your top.
And that's why it
5.
doesn't make it into my top 10 because it was
fine.
good. Like the first half of that season had me, but then the second half I just kind of
it's like they're picking up the pieces.
yeah, it's just
I
like
understand.
there's not enough here in this conflict for me. That, and I feel like Vash is just a whiny bastard in the second half of that series, and I never felt that way in the original Trigun. Like he had much more of a personality in the original run.
Mask on,
But
mask.
the problem with Vash in the reboot is the exact problem people have with Cloud in Advent Children, which is he became an emo, like a serious emo edgelord,
Yeah.
and that's not who I remember that character as. Cloud was a mercenary, and he was kind of an asshole, and he was kind of snarky, and he did have
Bad
his
boy,
moments
yeah.
of seriousness, but he also had moments of playfulness, moments of anger, moments of just being more well-rounded.
Especially with the other characters.
But then in
yeah.
Advent Children, he's just a sad boy.
Yeah. It was made during that stretch too. Where
Yeah.
That was like the thing.
And
Yeah.
it's the same thing happens to Vash. Vash in especially the middle portion of the Trigun reboot, just becomes a sad boy, and I don't find that interesting.
He did get. He did
So you can say I don't want to give it its own merits all you want. I do, and I don't like sad boys, and that's kind of what they turned him into.
Yeah.
And
Well, given like the origin in that one, from what I watched of it,
Yeah.
I can kind of understand why they did that.
Yeah.
I can understand like what his character makeup is in that one.
And why they rebooted in a
Like
sense.
yeah, for
Yeah.
me, like I'd never watched Trigun, so like when Stampede came out, I kind of went back to watch Trigun, And
It's
like
totally
Stampede
different,
worked
yeah.
for me because it was a more cohesive story.
Yeah.
When I first watched the original Trigun, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, it's all
I
over
don't
the
know
place.
You
what
can't-
I'm watching.
Oh, yeah,
and
it is
it
all over
didn't
the
come
place.
together until the end. And I realized like this is the show that you have to watch more than once to really.
That-
You have to watch it, and after you finish the end of it, it's like, oh, okay, I understand this show because it was very episodic in the beginning in that cowboy bebopish kind of way, and then you got a story.
Yeah.
And that transition for me was like, but after the first few episodes, I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching. I would have gave up on it.
That's fair.
But
That's what happened to me.
but Stampede, I came in with a story, so I'm like, oh, okay, and it made Trigun make sense for me.
Oh
It
yeah,
has that
no.
complete narrative.
As far as the narrative goes, the reboot is stronger on that because it gives you the
What's at stakes? Essentially,
It gives you the
Yeah.
stakes. It explains who Millions Knives is. It really explains the plants because the plants never get fully explained in the
Right.
original.
and
Right.
and,
No.
and Trigun's that ambiguous like mystery box.
The
Yeah.
Trigun reboot does a lot of good things, but it didn't make my top favorites
Yeah.
because the character kind of got assassinated for me.
Their creative
I
choices.
got
Yeah.
what you. I got.
But going back to
Goblin
my
Slayer.
favorites and Goblin,
Goblin
Slayer.
Slayer.
A lot of people complained about season 2 because it was a new animation studio and they made a lot of choices that people didn't like because it was more traditionally animated. There was less CG. It was a little flatter, but I really like this guy's struggle. His understanding of I don't want to say he's autistic. He's traumatized to the point
His
where,
sister's death. Yeah.
Yeah, he's traumatized to the point where he can't connect to people anymore. And especially in season 2, you get to see him open up.
Yeah.
And you get to see him kind of struggle with reconnecting with his own humanity.
Yeah.
Like in the very early part of season 2, when he's going around with that like boy who wants to start killing goblins
Similar to him. Yeah.
because of a similar kind of he lost everyone backstory. Like Goblin Slayer has a mental breakdown because he's like, oh, you actually thought you can save people? And then he kind of starts to realize that he is. Like, he can't save everyone, but he is saving people. And like the scene of him laughing kind of works a little better in the manga because it's a little more restrained. But at the same time, it's because it's more restrained in the manga, it's more shocking. But it's still a great scene.
Yeah, I know.
And the wedding arc was fun.
Elf wedding.
and I just feel like it did a really good job of expanding upon season 1's understanding of who Goblin Slayer is and how these connections he's finally making with the priestess and the elf and the dwarf and
The Dragon Priest.
the dragon priest is helping him kind of reconnect with his own humanity.
Yeah, similar to Frieren. I just love this party. Like it's one of those things where they're casual. They're like, we're gonna kill goblins.
I also love they have no names. They don't have names.
Long ears, goblin beard. Or what's Goblin Slayer's nickname from the dwarf? Something beard.
They don't
Beard
really
cutter?
Beard cutter. Good call.
They don't really need names. I mean, it's not like no, and I like that he's almost like that nameless drifter, where it's like his sole purpose is to kill goblins,
And that's how he's
like,
technically recognized too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the
that
Goblin
guy,
Slayer.
yeah, like the Goblin Slayer, because it's like that's what he does. He doesn't take anything else. He just kills the goblins, and
It's like being a janitor.
yeah,
No one appreciates what the janitor does, but the janitor needs to do it.
yeah,
Oh, they're
Yeah.
number one. Number one.
and he's like.
They're not janitors anymore. They're
Custodian.
sanitation
Engineers.
Custodian.
sanitation engineers.
Yeah. But he's like so merciless. He's like a Clint Eastwood character from an old, one of those old Westerns where it's just like, he's like the man with no name. He's just like comes in, does what's needed to do, and then he leaves.
Yo,
And-
Jimbo.
Yeah, but then adding to him and seeing like his emotional damage, like that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I did like this second season. I don't want to mention, but overall, Overall, it's like my comfort anime, and even though like I do like the details within it, it's just having fun. It's just
Yeah, that's Jack's caption for 2023. 2023 was an honorable mention.
yeah.
You know what? He
Technically,
only has the top 5, so you're allowed to throw a couple honorable mentions in
There
there
you
to
go.
help him up.
All right.
My
go ahead.
number 2 favorite anime of 2023 was Our Dating Story.
Aw.
I don't know if any of you actually watched that.
No.
That I didn't even see that
It's
anywhere.
it's a dating romance comedy. So if you don't like romance, you don't like high school like love story animes, you're not gonna like it.
We're not opposed to that at this table.
But
That's not true. Edwin says I hate romance.
that's it. It reminds me of an older anime called My First Girlfriend is a Gal,
Okay.
Okay, I remember that one.
but it has a more like grounded in reality story, and it doesn't have a pedophile.
Well, that's
And I
good.
felt
That-
both of those
that
things
helps.
were very important. And the funny thing is that in My First Girlfriend is a Gal, the fat friend, because the main protag in that has 2 friends. One's this big fat guy, and one's like a nerdy dude.
Okay.
And in the anime only, like not in the manga, in the anime only, they just made the fat dude like a weird pedo. And I'm not talking about like he's a lolicon. I mean, like they made jokes about him getting arrested and being put on a watch list. And there's this really weird, awkward scene at the finale of season 1 of My First Girlfriend is a Gal, where he gets to hug a little girl, and it's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. And it tainted and ruined what was essentially a decent, enjoyable, if mediocre, romance comedy. But Our Dating Story takes that, and removes it. So it's,
Less cringe.
It removes the Wander Franco.
it's about a guy named Ryuto who, unlike in My First Girlfriend is a Gal, like he asked in My First Girlfriend is a Gal, the protag asks out the main character because he wants to get laid. And then he just kind of accidentally falls into being a romantic. Whereas in Our Dating Story, like he actually likes the main love interest, Runa. It's supposed to be Luna, but accents. So he likes Runa. He thinks that her sweet personality is attractive, and yeah, she sleeps with a lot of guys, but who cares? I think there's something just magnetic about her personality. His friends are all kind of dumb, and they don't really study. So they kind of drag him into a bet of whoever gets the highest score on like the midterms has to do what the person with the lowest score wants. And because he actually studies and he goes to like cram school and everything, he gets the highest score by a long margin. So his friend, who's this kind of chunky guy,
Oh no.
he feels he's so mad and he's so like upset that he tells him, you have to confess to the girl you like because I want to see you crash and burn. And then when he asks out Runa's like, yeah, sure. And they explore things like why she is so like easy to get into bed with her previous boyfriends and why he doesn't want that. And they don't just write it off as, oh, she's a gal, she's a slut, who cares? No, there's like, they think about the psychology of it. Like, she has a really complicated family relationship. She has a really complicated view on love that they explore in really good ways. And there's a lot of anime tropes, like especially romantic anime tropes in this. Don't get it twisted. Ryuto does that, like scream like every episode. It's ridiculous.
Kind of like Asta. Oh no.
And so it is tropey, but like it has a much more grounded in reality view on dating than most anime ever do.
Yeah, I saw the first episode of that, and it was interesting because she essentially figures that that's what he's after, and she's like, well, that's what all my boyfriends have been after, so that's what she's gonna like do.
Oh no.
And he's like, wait, what's happening? And he's like, well, she's like, isn't this what you want? And he's like, well, yeah, but no. It's like, can we like date for a little bit before this happens?
Oh no.
And so he's like, because he's kind of like, he's not put off by it, but he's kind of like, wait, is this normal? Which, yeah.
Yeah, and it's because she wants to have that like high school romance that leads to things like marriage, but like she's like, oh well, the only way guys will stick around is if I sleep with them. I don't really care about sex, like, but I'll do it, if it makes
no,
my
it's
partner
not.
happy. And he's like, well, what makes me happy is you being happy. So like, let's hold off on that for now. And then that leads to like really complicated scenes later on, where like a couple episodes later, she's actually crying because since she slept with all these guys and she did all this stuff before she met Ryuto, like
The importance of it, yeah.
she's hurt because she can't share these firsts with him. And he's like, well, you kind of are, because these are my firsts and you're here, so you are sharing these firsts. And like it makes her understand like the important, like how problematic her old boyfriends were.
Okay.
That's something I've never seen explored in an anime that I can remember, at
Yeah,
least.
there's been a few. Girlfriend, the manga is way better than the anime, but that one explores some territory that's interesting. And then there was one, Not a Marriage.
But not lovers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was an interesting
I
one.
think I remember you talking about
Yeah,
that.
that one was an interesting one.
I wasn't crazy on it.
I wasn't crazy on it either, but I did like some of the directions they went in, because it was less like some of the other like tropey ones.
Yeah, and
that,
in different studies of relationships in general.
Yeah.
Another honorable mention is 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Like You.
Oh yeah, it became ranked high.
It's a dumb premise that's funny. And to be honest, I'm way further in the manga than I am in the anime. But it has a good loop. Harem anime always has the problem of a couple characters are going to get forgotten. But that one has a really good loop of bring in a new girl, like kind of set up what makes her so special, get her as part of the relationship. And then they'll like go on side stories where you'll see like, oh, okay, this girl who's already been established like earlier in the series, let's go with her for a day. Let's just see what's going on with her. And then it explores like one or two girls with the protagonist, and then it kind of brings it back into the central plot of, all right, we got to add to these 100 girls. And it's not a bad loop.
Yeah.
It's actually
This
pretty well
whole
done.
100 thing is kind of like perplexing.
It's dumb.
Yeah, it's
that,
like
like,
this. The whole. It's like a new
Comey,
genre.
yeah,
like the
Comey
bucket
can't-
list genre.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Comey Can't Communicate is essentially her making 100 friends.
A bucket list too.
Yeah,
Psalm 100.
Yeah, Japan seems to love bucket
There's
lists.
another one that's similar to Comey, but what is it? It's that one, but there was something else where I'm like, wait, this is turning into a very
It's
similar.
its
like,
own
yeah,
genre now.
where it's like, how do we cover these 3 years of high school? How do we do this in a different way? How do we cover this? And it's like with Comey, it's like, oh, I'm going to make 100 friends over the course of this time. And so you see that happening. And then when this one it's playing out, he's going to make 100 girlfriends over the course of this time. But yeah, from what I've heard is that every girl is like very distinct. They're not just like tropes. They're not just stereotypes. But each girl is distinct and has like their own personality and everything.
Yeah, they do a good job of that.
Yeah.
It's, again, popcorn. Like, it's fun. I don't take it seriously. Like, you're going to kind of, like,
Yeah, like Rent a Girlfriend technically does.
Rent a Girlfriend is terrible. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
But I like it, but it's terrible. All right. And
Those
then,
are fighting words at this table. So.
Didn't Kyle trash that one too?
Yeah, Kyle didn't
well,
like it.
the problem is I feel like Rent a Girlfriend after a while gets kind of stale. It gets, but it's good. It's enjoyable. I like it.
I think it's his reactions to things and how he isn't probably as. That one's tough because it's like, look, this is her job, not her relationships. And he's kind of like, this is the relationship, not the job. And so it's like, that's where they run into things where it becomes problematic. And then you have these other people that are in his life trying to vie for his attention. And because he has this situation where he has to be like, all right, I got to keep these two things separate.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, I have feelings for this person, but that's her job. And so it's like, I have to keep these two things separate. And it's like, I have these feelings for her. She doesn't feel the same way. She just wants to be friends, but something is blossoming. At the same time, he's got this other girl who says, is that your girlfriend? Technically, no. But Yeah,
And
so
I'm the
she's like-
girl, baby.
Yeah, so she jumps in and
Ruka.
says, yeah. She jumps in and says, "Hey, I'm gonna be your girlfriend. That's it." And so he's like, "Well, I guess I have to go with this." And it's like, what is happening?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, fair.
And that's what I like about it. It's more like a study on like external, like study on relationships, how we communicate, and modern times in a weird way.
Well, yeah, because it becomes the technicalities of a thing. And
Yes,
you're just
yes.
like, it's like I have to be this certain way with this certain person because of the situation. But it's like, is that really how I want it to play out?
Precisely.
No. But, and then so you end up getting into these other situations and you're just like, well, really, I don't want to be in these other situations. I want to be in that, but I can't. But let's see how that plays out. And it's, yeah, it becomes a comedy of errors. Yeah. And so now, you're number one.
And then my number one favorite anime of 2023 is Shangri-La Frontier. Which, to bring back a certain dude's certain
VR
MMO life, I started watching that first, and I enjoyed it. But that game is not a game. Like, they don't try to make the game make sense. It's just about this dude who just kind of gets his life turned upside down. Like a dude with a weirdly lucky, weirdly high luck stack. And it's fun and it's enjoyable, but you kind of don't want to think about the game mechanics at all, because it's not important.
No, well, because Shangri-La Frontier is on a different level than this
Yeah, and
anime will ever be. Like, this is like, I don't want to call it like, I like that the main character is an adult, but we never see his face because it's not really necessary. And each episode is really more about him finding out like what will work and like building on his strengths.
Yeah.
Which is kind of similar to Shangri-La Frontier, but just in that way. Otherwise, this is pretty much just a straightforward like OP, like, all right, I'm in a video game, I'm OP. Then that's it.
Okay,
There's
okay.
no
For the
real-
other one, gotcha.
Yeah.
And now they're
Sh-
veering into harem building territory. And
Yeah.
it's like, you're like, all
And
right.
Shangri-La dismisses that.
Shangri-La Frontier is the way I described this anime. I was talking to a friend of mine about this anime, and he's like, "How would you describe Shangri-La Frontier?" A program speedrunner starts playing an MMO and accidentally falls into an endgame storyline.
There you go.
That's the simplest way to describe Shangri-La Frontier, and it's fun. It takes the concept of it being a video game very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it explores that in great detail.
Yeah, the language there too.
It almost feels like after a decade, like a game would come out that everybody's playing. It's like if everybody forgot that Skyrim ever existed.
Or Dark Souls,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They just like, they completely forgot. So this game comes out and we realize that it's Skyrim, but these kids don't realize that it's Skyrim. And so we jump in. We know the glitches. We know the suffering. We know what's going on. And so we just like, we slam through this game and everybody's like, what the hell are these guys doing? And it's like, well, yeah, we played through the glitches. We suffered through.
And there's a whole culture, a whole video
Yeah.
game culture.
Yeah.
Like we suffered through, and we made it through these other games. And so now we're here and we're playing through this game and we're discovering stuff. There were moments where I was like, oh, this is like a serious version of Bufuri. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bufuri is amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does, because he jumps in, he immediately starts Dark Soulsing, all
Headstrong.
the fights. Just parry hit, don't get hit.
The song lyrics are parry.
Oh, that intro is easily one of my favorites.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a great intro.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great intro.
And he immediately just starts speed running the game, and then falls into a end game storyline because he fights Lycagon, which is a unique monster, gets the mark, and that leads him to a level 80 story quest with the Rapidza village.
Yeah.
And the boss The boss bunny
Oh, I love it.
is so cool. It's like watching a Yakuza drama, like an old,
Yeah.
like a Japanese Yakuza drama TV show
Yeah.
in anime form. It's great.
I
It's,
love that one episode where he gives his reasons to fight the monster, and he just gives. It's only like a minute or two, but it feels like 20 minutes until he gives a response back. Like
yeah.
breathing.
And when he's forging those knives and singing, it was.
Oh,
it gave me
yeah. That
chills.
was great.
Like
That
this-
was phenomenal.
You're sitting there and you're watching this anime, and me and Jamal have talked about like how the romance thing is kind of like not there.
We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that with Martin later.
And then we're talking about like Jack is saying it's better than SAO, and it was that where they take a whole 20 minutes of just him singing and beating on the weapons and forging those weapons, and I'm like, wait, something is happening.
He
here.
comes out of retirement to
Yeah.
forge that weapon.
Yeah.
But I'm like, because this is a moment in this show where you're just like, all right, something is happening here, because at this point, this show has crossed over from like being about this guy soloing, like this guy being like solo her. It's crossed from like this guy who plays trashier games who's fallen into a
Perfect game.
AAA game.
into a perfect game into like, what are we playing? Like, what are we watching? Like he said, like it had transitioned into like a Yakuza, but in that moment where it's like, you're going to spend this much time on this, that signifies that something important is happening right now. And you get caught up. You get
Yeah.
the feels in that moment. Like as a video game player and as an anime watcher, you have, it's a moment where it's like, wait, like I have to stop and appreciate this because something is happening here
Yeah.
that wouldn't be focused on in other shows. They would just brush past this, or like they wouldn't do it at all. This wouldn't be included, and it definitely wouldn't be 20 minutes. Like almost like this
of
long.
just
The significance is there.
I'm not skipping that cutscene.
No.
And similar to a video game like
Exactly.
aspect of it, like you guys are bringing it up, like Legend of Zelda,
Chills.
like Link to the Past, when Link brings out the Master Sword, like they give you that feeling that this is beyond art. Like you're part of this.
You're
great
part of
experience.
something.
Yeah, sacred.
And it reminds you of, and it always ties back to Sunraku's relationship with video games. Because he starts off playing a trash game called like Flalia or something.
Is that the fighting one?
Yeah.
No. The one with the
princess.
elf.
Oh, okay,
princess.
okay.
That he has
Where
to...
he's like, the plot line sucked. Everything
Yeah,
that...
and there was a parody on
She's
Zelda.
working
Yeah.
against you
Yeah.
the entire time.
Yeah, everything bad that happens has nothing to do with the Demon King. It all has to do with the shitty elf princess. And luckily, because of a bug, you could just spend the last 3 minutes of the game just beating her down because it's supposed to be a cutscene. So like you can't. So because of the glitch of it being a cutscene, it's supposed to be a cutscene. You could just wail on her for 3 minutes and get all your frustrations out.
Yeah,
He's
those
like, it
creators-
was all worth it for that 3 minutes.
yeah.
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 And so he starts off just talking mad smack about how bad
that
this
game
game
is,
is. And then he goes to Berserk Online Passion.
Yes.
Just to do fighting game shenanigans with glitches.
And talk with the people in the lobby and all that.
Yeah, and that was really fun. And then there's this other MMO where it was like an apocalyptic world where because of the player base, it just became like a weird.
They made it an apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
It was a fantasy game.
Yeah,
And they destroyed it.
and you were supposed to either like you could either save it or like
they
make it worse.
didn't.
And
No,
the
no,
players
worse.
collectively just went, "We're gonna make this
Yeah.
worse."
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just a
And-
hangout place. Whatever.
Yeah, but then you go to Shangri-La Frontier, and he just bypasses the entire first town.
He's like,
And-
I'm not going there.
He gets to this-
And it comes back to bite him later on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does. And
You
it's
get that in
hilarious.
the intro.
Well, he ends up having to pay a really hefty price.
An exorbitant price.
Yeah, for not, yeah.
And
Well-
he didn't listen because Rabutsa was like, "Listen, my sister is going to gouge you."
Oh,
on these
she's my
prices."
favorite- she's my
and
favorite
he's just
rabbit.
like, "I don't care. I want the things."
Oh,
She's my favorite rabbit.
I love.
Oh, you're
her.
gonna buy this?
Yep.
Yeah, no. I love how Sunraku starts to pick up on all the rabbits' voice patterns.
Yeah.
And so he starts mimicking them. My favorite joke, though, involved, what's her name? What's the, Emul.
Yeah.
Where they were talking about the limits of the character of the NPC AIs.
Yeah.
Because he goes to that forest and he starts doing running commentary on the beetle versus the bees.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
That
he's
was good.
trying to get Emul involved, and she's just like, oh. I thought that was so funny. I really like what they did with Emul because it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy to turn the mascot character into like the sexy bait character.
Maybe,
and they
yeah.
generally avoided that.
They did. They
And
did.
she
in her
doesn't want to do that human transformation, but
No,
she has to.
Yeah.
And like I said with the previous one, like they dismissed the harem building. Like there's 2 or 3 scenarios there, but it's like
Psycho Zero likes him, but that's about it.
Yeah, precisely.
Well, I love that her costume is like like the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Like it's like this huge armor. It's not like this sexy little
yeah,
girl.
the Ebony
thing.
Knight from Skyrim.
Yeah, it's like she's like the epic knight that can hit you with one kill.
yes.
And it's like
Yeah.
that. They really play against. Yeah, they play against the tropes in this one. You don't even really think about them too much.
Wait,
then
pause
watching
real
this.
quick.
Yeah.
Jack is not allowed to talk about this with any sort of passion or excitement because it was not in his top 10.
Yeah,
It's number 12. It was number 12. It was number 12.
how did this happen?
Number 12.
He would not. He has talked.
Well, I saw
endlessly
Jujutsu Kaisen.
about
I
this
saw
show.
Otaku Elf. I saw.
I don't want to hear that.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to hear that. Alberto got mad at you for Jujutsu Kaisen being number 10.
Yeah,
Like, he
was
got
upset.
really mad at you. And
But
then
this
you
was
didn't
his
even
favorite.
have.
So
It's my favorite gaming isekai.
Listen
officially.
to this.
Jujutsu Kaisen is a top anime, but it
Oh,
is like number 6 on my favorites. But
See, and that's where, like, the difference is. Like, we did favorites, but, like, if we retool the Crunchyroll list with our things, like, when you have to do best, that changes everything. It was a lot easier for us to do favorite than best.
because when it comes to best, I would put Jujutsu Kaisen over Shangri-La Frontier.
Yeah.
No question.
Absolutely.
But Shangri-La is that impressive.
But it's a favorite.
Yeah.
You just get a little more excitement. Like Jujutsu Kaisen, you know what you're going to get, and it's like everything's there.
and the love and praise is there
But,
anyway.
but
It just
Shangri-La,
happens.
it's a different feel because it's like I can understand this character. We've all played these terrible games, and then once you get into a good one, you're like, all right, where's the glitch?
Yeah, and
Where's it at?
we're
Bring
waiting
to
for
me.
it. Yeah,
and how,
we're waiting for it.
and how it translates from gaming. Like it's the first one where you can like emulate that type of adventure and want that adventure in a video game.
I'm gonna go off on a little tangent rant for a second.
That's okay.
Man, fuck Destiny. Oh,
Yeah.
damn it, man.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I
That was beautiful.
didn't expect
Mwah.
to bring that back.
We're talking about Shangri-La Frontier, but it's like,
Destiny.
and I brought up Skyrim, and I just wanted, with all of my heart, just a sci-fi version
Of Skyrim.
And
I
they
waited
gave
for
you
it for
trash.
so long, and Destiny essentially said it was gonna be, and it wasn't.
And they lied.
They lied so
They
hard.
lied through their teeth.
They lied. That game was shit on a stick, on a platter. I don't care what anybody says. There wasn't even 10 hours of gameplay.
Would you say it's the greatest trash game ever?
No,
It's just trash.
See,
It's not even trash
what Destiny did was
They lied.
they lied. They
Again
said
and
you're going to
again
have
and
this
again.
incredible game, and we're going to support it for 10 years and everything. And then within like 6 months, they're giving you a DLC pack
for $30.
for $30, and it's like. So this is the game.
Yes.
And then they dropped another one after
Yes.
that. And another one
And then
after
technically
that.
Destiny
and it's
2.
like by the time they came out with Destiny 2 and you bought all the DLC for Destiny 1, you finally get the game. So then it's like when I was playing it, everybody playing it was like, this game sucks.
Yep.
And then like a few years down the line, everybody said, no, you need to play Destiny. It's great. And I'm like, no, that game is horrid.
Yeah, and then Destiny 2 came out.
Yeah.
And then it released a bunch of DLC, and then because of power creep, they got rid of all the base game stuff. So now, at this point, if you get Destiny 2 now, all of the base game and the first expansion storyline has been ripped out, so you have no idea what's going on.
Oh my God.
See? Even
Yeah.
better.
Remember when Kyle and Jesse were going off because of, what was it? Overwatch 2?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And they're like,
Oh, my God.
Martin has something to say.
I
with
can't
that.
even. How are you? I understand their anger
Yeah.
because it's like, all right, here's a game that I love to play. So what you're gonna do to me is you're gonna fucking make that game disappear.
So I have to play the other
So
one.
you have to switch to the servers for the second one. It's like, are you?
It's so funny because for Overwatch 2, every announcement, including the release of Overwatch 2, like the announcement that we're making Overwatch 2, every single release of information of like an update or a patch or something new evolving with Overwatch 2, every time I see an announcement, I immediately go, okay, what controversy is Blizzard trying to bury? Like, what terrible news story are they trying to bury with this announcement?
Oh shit!
Because I don't know if anyone remembers, but
They had their big scandal.
But the entire announcement of Overwatch 2 to start with was to get people to stop talking about the free Hong Kong
Yes.
moment in what was
it became a meme essentially.
yeah, and
What's that character? She's becoming like a mascot,
which
for
caused like mass. Was it some Chinese? Well, no, some Hong Kong players in an online tournament won the tournament. Said that got banned by Blizzard, and then Blizzard's Chinese social media platform was saying, oh, this is terrible that they said this. China, like, we love China, yada, yada. Meanwhile, in the American side, they're like, we have nothing to say about this.
Yeah.
It has nothing political to do. And everyone's like, but what about your Chinese social media branches saying the exact opposite? Oh, Overwatch 2.
Yes.
Yeah, let's have all these characters
misdirect.
look at this other character's butt. They're all lesbians. Yay! It was bad.
And then wasn't there a scandal about they had a men's room?
Oh,
where he was, like,
that's a
specifically-
discrimination lawsuit
Yeah.
that they were hiding with a bunch of announcements for Overwatch 2 stuff.
Yeah.
They were getting sued in LA, or not LA, California, for discriminatory practices against a bunch of their female employees.
Yes.
Well, yeah, they even had like a men's only room where they smoked cigars and made misogynistic jokes. Yeah, so
And
Jesus, Blizzard.
that leads to my rant like Edwin had with Destiny. What the fuck is up with gaming companies nowadays? What is up with gaming companies today? Capcom, Bethesda, Blizzard.
Microsoft.
Capcom's on an uptick. It's just that they had a weird misinformation campaign that happened recently.
Well, there was a recent one, the one you guys brought with the subscription, Activision, the subscription bullshit.
Oh, Ubisoft. Yeah, Ubisoft says you
Ubisoft.
need to get comfortable not owning your games.
Only Nintendo. Only like select few are like sane.
I think we already have to a certain extent.
There's people that like when you wanted to buy the PlayStation 5 when it was impossible to buy, you cannot find the digital only one. You can only get the disc version.
Yeah.
And I like I like having a Blu-ray player.
Same here.
It is nice.
I like having a Blu-ray player, so I want the version with the disc.
And backwards
But,
compatibility.
A lot
too.
of people have transitioned to digital, but don't force me to.
Well, my thing
That's
is,
what I
it's
don't
like
like.
when we've had this conversation in the state of streaming, we all knew, like, before they moved to the subscription model, we pretty much knew that they were going to move to the subscription model. We saw this coming. The problem is that the subscription model, there's too many services for the subscription model to work.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just doesn't work. And so that terrifies me with gaming because it's like, how are you going to produce these games based on the subscription model? You're going to lose a lot of like larger companies because the money's just not going to be there. It's like nobody's going to want to pay $60 a month as a subscription title. And then you're going to come and say, hey, you don't own this. I just paid you $60.
I know.
It's like, are you fucking kidding? I better own something for $60.
And that's my ultimate theme or theory with these gaming companies, like understanding the new digital world and streaming. They're trying to make bank.
Did you hear about the New Game Plus DLC locked behind a $15 paywall for like a Dragon Infinite Wealth?
What?
Yeah.
Explain
So,
that.
do you play any of the Yakuza games?
I've seen videos.
I've played like a dragon.
So
Yeah,
a couple
I played a little bit
of the more recent ones, like I Lost Judgment.
And you can get them on the PlayStation, in the PlayStation Plus store.
They usually have a New Game Plus version. Like
Okay,
you,
yeah, I
like
know
you
what you're
can
talking about.
you
Yeah.
can do. But for the new one where he's going to be in Honolulu or
Wow.
somewhere in Hawaii, they locked the new game plus feature behind a $15 paywall. So you can play the game fine, but if you want to play new game plus, you have to pay $15.
Why?
They're just trying
Apparently
to
they've
bank.
been doing that in Japan for
Okay.
years with the Yakuza games. But whenever the games got ported to the West, since they didn't really sell that well in the West, they just bundled it in without charging the DLC. But then since Yakuza, the franchise, blew up with Like a Dragon
It did.
in the West, they're like, okay, let's just give them this BS pricing structure too.
So here's a question: how does that work if you're running a subscription only model? Like, let's say you don't own this game.
Right.
How do they make money? It's like, how do you handle DLC? How do you handle like Overwatch? How do you handle like costumes, loot crates? How do you handle any of that stuff if this isn't a game that you own?
Yeah.
You know, it gets into like this funny territory where it's like, well, I don't own this game.
In-game
gonna-
purchase, but
Yeah.
then again, it's like,
And where does that
own it.
money go?
And how does it split?
Yeah, where does this money go? Does this money go to the PlayStation Store? Does this money go to the company itself? How does that get all like?
Yeah, so
you-
just
you
like,
come
do you
into
get a
this-
fee? Is there a fee to be like, all right, you're going to be part of the PlayStation Essential package this month? Is there a fee to be on
And then
there?
this,
Do
does
they
this
give you a
become
flat
like
rate?
Spotify, you know,
Right.
like yeah.
As someone who plays heavy amounts of fighting games, I recently got into like someone had to kind of show me something that was kind of nuts because I was complaining about Street Fighter 5 and Soul Calibur 6 and Tekken 7 having all these season passes to get all these characters. And it was frustrating that I'd basically have to pay $50 a year.
Yeah.
Just
And
to,
Capcom
just to
got worse.
continue playing the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
But then someone pointed out to me, well, you kind of had to do that before anyway, because you had, like, for example, 1990, was it 4 or 96?
Oh.
Street Fighter Alpha came out.
Alpha series.
Then
yeah.
2 years later, Street Fighter Alpha 2 came out with more characters. Then Street Fighter Alpha 3 came out 2 years
And-
later with even more characters.
And Turbo.
And then Third Strike came out, and then Street Fighter 4 came out, and then Ultra Street Fighter 4 came out. So you were already paying $60 for like a bunch of new characters. They've just kind of restructured it with the rise of DLC, and I hate that answer. And that's exactly what's going to happen if they go to a subscription model, because you're going to have to pay for all of it. But guess what? You don't own any of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
None of
And
the
we
DLC
can take it away when we
costumes.
want to. Like, oh, we're pulling this.
There was a game that came out and got delisted from Steam within a day.
Yeah, I saw that. I know what you're talking about.
I forgot the name of that game.
I forgot what it was, but yeah.
For Steam too. That's
Wasn't that the
that's
shit
not good.
game where the studio just went out of just
They went out of business.
business
It
like
was-
the next
yeah,
day?
it was-
Like,
yeah. It was that.
Like the game was so bad that they were like they just like the whole studio collapsed like the very next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Like ET.
Yeah.
It was such a weird situation.
Talk about
So bad.
Well, I know that story. You can crash the gaming industry.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god,
So
that's a
bad.
throwback. Yeah, no, I mean, this is nuts. We're entering like I don't even know like how do these we've watched this happen over the course of like the last 20 years.
Oh yeah. And it's not the first instance. It's like Rare
What
doing
what
their
I don't
thing.
understand is like who sits there and thinks that this is a good idea. Like I get the shareholders thinking, you know, constant income is great, constant like assured income is great, but I don't see this as a great growth model for the industry.
I don't either.
Yeah, because it's like you're just limiting your platforms more and more. For me, I feel like you're limiting your sales. Like with a lot of things going Xbox exclusive, with them buying up, like even with just with
Bethesda.
Crunchyroll, yeah,
Everything.
buying up everything. It's like
Everything.
you're just limiting the number as a video game company. It's like, all right, well, I can see why they would sell themselves to Microsoft because it's like, oh, I get
It's
my
Microsoft,
paycheck and
yeah.
like I walk away and I got millions of dollars to deal with now, or millions of dollars to like go retire and do whatever the fuck I want and do something else.
Yeah.
It's like how BioWare started off as 3 doctors who were creating, who wanted to create medical tech, and then just swerved to, hey, let's make video games. And then they sold it off, and like BioWare just became kind of like a shell of its former self because all the people who made Mass Effect the runaway success that it was, even with the problems people had with like the later games, with like Mass Effect 3, especially. The people who made those games as good as they weren't there anymore, and then it was just kind of a cash grab, and it just kind of keeps blowing up in their face.
Well, that's what I think most of the gaming industry has become. Like, there's like Destiny, Fallout 76. There's a laundry list of games where it's just like, what are you guys doing? I mean, Star Wars,
Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2. I mean,
EA in general.
It's
EA in general.
Yeah, like game after game after game where it's just like a cash grab where there's no substance to, like, you have like these guys like these Steve Jobs wannabes who come out here and say, oh, this is where we're going to lead the industry. You're not leading the industry anywhere. It's just like become a cash grab to make as much money as you possibly can before people realize what you're doing, and they call the cops and they're like, look.
That's what happened to Kurt Schilling.
Yeah, it's like, come on, what are you guys doing? And it's like, and actually, I one of the stories that I heard is that it was actually Mass Effect, one of the Mass Effect games in their multiplayer mode, where this kid had spent $1,000 buying loot crates in their multiplayer mode that was just like cha-ching, like, wait, what? And then that's where it kind of snowballed into like, oh, this is how we're going to make our money now.
That's how EA lost their contract with
EA.
What's the name of that sports organization? FIFA. There we go. They lost their they lost their FIFA contract because
Wait, when did that happen? Because that's huge.
Because no, if you look at the most recent soccer game that they came out, isn't FIFA 2K23. It's It's they called it something else. It's like World Soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's they have managed to separate the FIFA license for individual players, and that's where and that's kind of helped them keep making soccer games.
Okay.
But the biggest problem was, I think it was like with 2K22 and 2K21, there were a bunch of stories of it was almost impossible to get any of the top soccer players on online multiplayer
with licensing,
through loot boxes, because the drop rates were so insanely low that there were stories of like kids grabbing their parents' credit cards and spending like $500 on loot crates, and they never got Lionel Messi, who's like the best soccer player ever. And that's ridiculous. But like there was so much complaint about the way EA was doing that stuff that FIFA just got tired of being attached to it.
Yeah.
So they dropped out.
Which is surprising because FIFA's terrible.
Yeah,
FIFA's awful.
And speaking of trash games, even their games they're infamous for bugs and stuff.
The last two EA games I bought were like PGA Tour 2K23 and PGA Tour 2K21.
Nice.
I can't remember. I don't buy that many games anymore.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Hockey's underrated. That one is actually pretty cool.
I used to love the hockey games. I play them every day.
There's a really fun PC game called Tape to Tape.
Okay.
It's an early access game.
Oh, okay.
It's a really fun hockey game.
Kind of like Blitz in that sense?
Kind of. Like, it harkens back to, like, the really old sports games where, like, there was way more violence.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Dumb
Blitz,
things.
Blitz,
like, remember Mutant League?
Oh, yeah.
You basically play 5-on-5 hockey, which, standard format.
Yeah.
But you get, like, special abilities, like the ability to throw your hockey stick at an opposing player and knock them down temporarily, or the ability to yo-yo the puck and things like that. It's really interesting. It's putting the video game back into sports.
Oh yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest.
Not everybody wants a sports simulator. Sometimes you just want like something like you said, like a Blitz, like where I can play the sport, but it's a video.
It's its own take. Tennis, virtual tennis.
I love Mario Tennis.
That as well. If you do mascots as well.
Mario Golf as well.
Yeah.
I did my first foray. Well, I used to do. I've played wrestling games in the past.
Wrestling games are usually good.
Yeah, PS3. I played a few wrestling games. I bought the basketball one.
NBA 2K24.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought that, and that's a lot of fun. I didn't expect it to be as much fun. I didn't realize how much control
You get
They
a
give you-
lot of control.
Yeah, they give you a lot of control, and,
And
it's a
even
lot
the
of
most
fun.
seasoned players can't, like, you have to really work on, like, getting all the controls of
Well,
that
it
game
feels
down.
like for me, that feels like a video game. Instead of
Yeah.
just like assigning like different people to do different things, the fact that I can switch off to a different player whenever I want, and when I want to do defense or when I want to do offense, that was so much fun because I'm like, oh, this feels like I'm actually in the game playing it instead of just like, okay, I'm going to assign people to do certain things. I loved it. I'm like, this is a lot of fun.
I got, was it through Twitch Prime? I can't remember if it was like NFL 2K22 or 2K23.
Interesting.
And I forgot how much I actually like football games.
NFL?
Yeah.
No, it couldn't
But-
have been NFL. 2K hasn't had NFL in like 20 years.
Well, it can't be
'cause
like
EA,
Madden.
EA bought the NFL
Yeah,
license.
because Madden doesn't do through Twitch or Prime.
Yeah, they gave away the game for free. Like, I'm not saying Twitch made the game.
Yeah,
No, I'm saying I'm
but
saying
I can't remember
EA,
which-
EA has had the license to
for Madden.
the NFL for like
Madden.
20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember
So it's-
what the name of the game was, but it's the EA one, and it was either
Madden football.
Yeah.
Okay,
Either
there you
like
go.
Madden 22 or Madden
Gotcha,
23
gotcha.
or something.
Okay.
And I forgot how much I enjoyed football games, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, I don't want to pay for all these players to play online.
No.
Oh, see,
I have a friend that does that.
I love football games, but Madden is so trash now. Like Madden is like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Like I'll buy like a generation of a
then.
console,
Yeah.
and I'll play it, and then I'll like, oh, okay, I haven't played this in a while. I'm enjoying it. And then the next one will come out, and I'll be like, this is why I haven't played this game. I hate this.
That's why
it happens every time.
That's why a lot of players are from the Madden generation are going to NCAA, their games.
They haven't had any NCAA games in a long time. They just now started to come back out with them,
Yeah.
because of the NIL deals.
There you go.
What's
But before they couldn't come out with NCAA.
And they're looking
games.
forward to it. Yeah, they're
Well,
jumping
it was
ship.
like you were saying, some games evolve, but they leave things behind that you wish
Miss.
they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because it's like as you play the newer games, you're like, this is fun, but you have those games where it's like the graphics didn't matter at much,
Right.
so you had to like make it about the gameplay, and then you get into like where it looks amazing, it looks beautiful, but the gameplay is not. It's just not
See,
there.
The thing about sports games, and I love them because I love sports, and wrestling is kind of involved in this too, in that like they really don't need to come out with them every year.
Yeah,
No.
Same.
They really
Yeah.
don't.
They just want to make that money every year.
But they make so much money.
Yeah.
And B, you have so much like roster changeover that, like, in all honesty, they could just be like, all right, I'm going to make a basketball game every 3-4 years, but I'm going to give you this seasonal pass for, okay, here's the season, here's the rosters. We're going to update the rosters. You buy the season pass for this year. We'll give you the updated rosters as it updates and everything. And if you continue that and then developed a new game, it'll be received better.
That would have been better.
But instead, like, there's just too much money in 2K.
Yeah.
It, like, NBA, there's so much money in it. And WWE 2K, they make so much money off of that. And it's like, is there a big difference between 23 and 24?
And for wrestling's case, they're all catching up, and AEW made a whole ordeal with their wrestling game.
I don't care about that.
No, I'm just saying, like, like literally half the roster's not even there, and it took that long to develop.
Well,
it.
that's the thing about game development takes so long.
Yeah.
And for, like, basketball, it's fine because it's like, all right, these players are going to be there.
The mechanics are
And
still there.
If they retire, it's just like, I could still have you in the game as a legacy player. It is not a big deal. But like wrestling, where the roster changes constantly, and that's the thing, you need more than, all right, let's say they came up with 2K24 in March or whatever. All right, so you drop this game in March. You still have to support this game because there's going to be bugs. You're going to have updates. So while you're supporting this game, you're also building the next game. And that's why the games are always trash for a few years. So it's like, all right, what's the difference between 23 and 24? What's the difference between 24 and 25? And then 26 will come along, and it's like, this is the game. But it's like, that's how long it takes for you to develop a new game. So just give me the new game, like 2K.
But they want to make that. They want to make that money. They want to make that money.
But they want to make the money, and I understand. And that's for sports. That is one time where I can say, give me the season pass. Give me the yearly season pass. I'll pay for that because I need those changes. But like a Call of Duty, they come out with Call of Duty every year. It's the same darn game, and they always do something where they're like, you know what? We're going to give you multiplayer this year. We're not going to give you a campaign, and we're not going to give you zombies.
Yeah.
It's funny because Pokemon is kind of going through a similar
After
session.
After Sword, yeah.
Yeah, because people are like, give these games more time in the oven. We understand. You don't need to release a new Pokemon game every year.
Or
They're like, no, we do.
Or a reboot of the previous games. Yeah.
No, we do. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they want to make that money. They want to make that money consistently. They want to make that money
for
all the time.
Nintendo. That's like their golden egg. They need to do it. Unfortunately.
Nintendo does not need to do it because they have enough properties.
Well, for Pokemon, it's like its own separate entity.
Well,
the
like-
Pokemon company makes gangbusters off that franchise.
Yeah.
I would say that if you're a game company, like what they did with, there was a game that I liked called Alien Isolation.
Yes, I like that one.
Oh, that's a good game.
Yeah. I know.
It was a phenomenal game. Then they came out with a mobile game that was similar to Five Nights at Freddy's. Everybody's like, what the fuck? We don't want a mobile game. We want a game just like the game that we played. If they were to do like, okay, the mobile game isn't as hard or time consuming or cost restrictive to develop, but let's use the money that we made from that. Instead of giving that profit to our shareholders, let's take the money we got from that to make the next Alien Isolation and work on that while we're giving you this mobile game, give you something in the interim instead of like creating a new game all the time.
Right.
Give you something in the interim where it's like it keeps you playing, it keeps you buying, it keeps you spending. But then like the AAA game, the games that are really going to bring you in, let those, like you said, give those games time to gestate and be developed instead of ending up with something like, Mass Effect Andromeda.
And not like Grand Theft Auto time.
Dude, you know how much they were making from GTA 5 Online?
Dude,
Insane
so
amounts.
It's insane.
They never have to make another game again.
No, they don't.
They really don't. They really essentially said, as a company, we no longer need to make sequels to this game because we're making so much money off of the online version. Because that came out on the PS3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
The
still
PS3.
running around.
2010.
Yeah. And like 14 years later, people are still playing Grand Theft Auto 5. It's insane. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like the game was fun, and I'm upset because they never developed anything for all of the
story.
well, just the layout of the map. There were so many places. Like there were stadiums and all kinds of places.
Ocean
that you
too.
Never went into.
A whole ocean too.
Yeah, there were things that you never touched upon because they were saving it for, the multiplayer mode. And like I have issues with multiplayer modes. It's
co-op
not-
in general.
Yeah, I'm not a multiplayer. I'll do like multiplayer like in home.
Yeah.
Like split screen or whatever, but I don't online multiplayer.
Well, I
it's
did
such a
what
toxic
Tamriel
place.
Online, and
You just need a friend to be patient with you.
Like
That's
I'll
all.
play with my group of people, and that's about it. I can't deal with outside people anymore. I'm so tired of the whiny, snivelly little 12-year-old that wants to talk crazy, and it's like
when I was playing Overwatch, I played Plants vs Zombies online.
Oh boy.
And I played Overwatch online. I muted my mic, and I did not want to hear what they were saying.
right.
And I did not want to talk to them.
Okay.
I used the emotes and everything. I was a healer. I was Mercy most of the time.
Your background character 101.
I was fine with being Mercy, or I was what's the little tank guy? I forgot the tank guy's name. But I was like, you know what? We can work on this together. I will be your tank, or I will be your healer. I'm not going to talk to you because the conversations that I would hear.
I automatically mute any Call of Duty game and any Mortal Kombat game. Like the newest one automatically has your mic on. I had to turn that off.
Yeah.
Because
Intrusive much.
and I don't want to play time to N-word.
Right.
Because that's what you're going to do. You're going to
Yeah.
start playing it, and there's just going to be a timer every time you turn the game on.
Every
How
time.
long until I hear someone drop an N-bomb?
Randy Orton.
When I first played, the first time I played Mortal Kombat 1, 12 minutes.
Wow.
12 minutes.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so ugly online.
It's free reign.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Like it's
Battlefront
just
2, I think too. I was like, I think I had the mic on for a little while, and it's like, nope. Mm-mm.
like I can't do anything because nine times out of 10 it's like a sniveling little suburban white kid that's 13 years old,
Or a guy with his baby in the
or a
background.
guy with a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's just like I can't even. Like what can I really say to you? Like I could say to you, but then it's like, now I got to go back and forth with you on this. Now you're typing messages to me. Like my brother one time, he got his account hacked. Like he had to get a whole new PlayStation name because he got into it with this dude one time on like, I think we were playing 2K or something. And this dude like was some sort of computer whiz hacker or whatever, hacked into his account, locked it. My brother had to change it, get a whole new account. To this day, he still can't play any EA games because all his EA games were under that account that was under that email address, and he can't get into it. It's crazy. So like those people are so toxic online, and it's just like, no, sit side by side to me. So then if you could talk crazy, I'll punch you in the mouth, and then we'll see what it's really about. But you're so comfortable over this mic talking crazy and texting stuff. It's just like, you know what? I can't do anything about this, so I'm just not. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it at all.
I have not engaged at all. Like since those first, like when I first started playing any multiplayer, I was like, I have not engaged.
It was not like this when we were back in
No.
the day,
No,
man.
it wasn't.
And that's
It
why,
was not this toxic at all.
and that's why I appreciate
Batman. It was one of the Batman games that had a multiplayer where you needed a mic, and I don't remember it being this crazy toxic.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I like playing a lot of multiplayer games, but I tend to gravitate towards the ones that don't have mics. Like Street Fighter 6. I'm super deep into Street Fighter 6.
It's perfect. That's perfect.
And there's no mics.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like there's a
Five as
chat
well.
function in Battle Hub, but that's it. I play Final Fantasy 14, which doesn't really have a voice chat system. That's very much you go to Discord for that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and
watch
it's,
Twitch or
it's
whatever.
a lot less toxic. And then the only one I play that has a mic auto turned on is Monster Hunter World.
Okay.
And even that, it's mainly just, dude, your baby's crying. Can you like mute
Or-
your mic?
They will, like, I remember for that was one of the reasons that I turned off, that I stopped using my mic for
Okay.
Plants vs Zombies.
Okay.
Because it was a lot of kids, and like I was hearing a conversation between what was obviously a man and what was obviously a young man, a young boy, and I was like, I'm muting this right now because
For my
this is
sanity.
this is making me very uncomfortable. So I'm muting this right now, and so I'm like, I muted it, and I was like, I'm not looking back. And since then, I was like, you know what? I don't have to talk to anybody online.
And that's the, bring it back full circle. That's the beauty of Shangri-La Frontier. Because
Good way to bring it back, Jack.
Because looking at this experience on the outer layer, like what could be virtual gaming in the near future, in a way, I'm not ready to make that jump, in a way, but you still get the personality and the feeling and the triumphs of Sangaku.
I love the girl, the random side character in Shangri-La Frontier who thinks everyone is a monster.
Yes, and she takes
And she
pictures.
And she keeps pulling out her bow to kill somebody,
like, "No."
and her friend's like, no, don't shoot them. That's a player.
Okay, Martin, what do you feel about the romance in Shangri-La Frontier
no,
between
here we go.
Sunraku and Monster Attack Girl?
What romance? I love. Don't get me wrong. I love that girl. I can't remember her real name.
She
I just
looks
remember
like
her handle of
Yeah,
Siger
yeah.
Zero.
Yeah,
but
she looks like your Uraraka.
she is so funny. She is so funny. Like I'm glad that it's not a central plot point, and it's clever for what it is. I think it's funny.
I like it more in the sense of like building a Sangaku's character, how oblivious he is to the outside world. And he's a total gamer, a total like, I'm in this world and I'm going to conquer it my way.
See, but I disagree with him being oblivious to the world because we see the interactions that he has with his family, and we've seen a scene or two where he's talking with friends outside.
It's finally
so
creeping
he's
in for
not
the second half.
oblivious.
No, but it's more of a sense of...
I think you're kind of painting him in a
No,
different light than he really
but
is.
explains the romance that, he doesn't have time for a girl per se.
Well,
She's
think
just
it's
not on
more-
his radar.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think it's that he doesn't have time for her.
he's just kind of off in his own world.
That's what I mean.
Because
and
she's
she's
like
not on his radar.
I agree.
she's like the Hinata that's just always kind of hiding in the corner or looking from afar. And
It's
it's
exactly
like, ooh,
what it is. It's
that's
the
unrock.
Hinata situation.
Yeah. So it's not like he's oblivious. She hasn't made herself known except in this video game. And
Where she
it's
still
like,
hasn't made herself known.
but she hasn't made herself known.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Well, okay, from coming from a gamer myself, how I casually play, like I'm not that extreme where I jump into broken games and have a chat, like have a following with a chat lobby to do intel.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a guy that's that
I
dedicated
liked
to
that scene though.
well,
There's
he has people that like.
He's social.
Back-
He's just social.
back-
social
in-game.
in his way.
Yeah.
Social in his
I've
way.
met people like online that I've played like games with where it's like, oh, okay, this person is cool. And we're talking and we might even exchange phone numbers and be like, hey, when you're getting on. And it's that kind of thing. So it's like, he's probably never met these people in his life, but it's like, oh,
he has
we
his
play
friends,
games
yeah.
together. They're like his gamer friends. So it's like, we play games.
We
It's
speak
like,
the same language.
yeah, like I know this person, but I don't know him. So it's like, yeah, I'm hanging out in the lobby because like we're friends. We play this game, like, but it's not like he's like completely oblivious.
No, but what I'm trying to get at is with the romance itself. Like it's cute. It's just
I
a gag.
did like the scene where I don't know if it's New Year, something happens, but she's essentially fallen asleep, and you see all the letters that she's tried to write.
And I think,
Yeah.
I think it was part of that mini theater art like stuff.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh man, that hurts. Yeah.
San Fran Deki Dan Mini.
Damn, fucking done me.
You know what? This probably it's probably just a romance hater in me.
No,
like it just
We did talk about this earlier.
it gets in the way of the show for me.
I can see.
For him-
I understand your rationale with like how they present it, but it's more of a sense of like the purpose of it.
It's not necessary. It's just
Right.
it's there for comedy purposes.
But also, it's also his wild card. Like eventually, she'll help him out.
Right,
that's what I told Jamal. I'm
Oh well,
like, they're
I
setting
get
this
that.
up. Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But you could. I don't need her to be like secretly in love with him for that.
Fair.
Like she could. Like it, you could do the same thing.
But that's kind of like our introduction into the show. It's the two of them talking at the game shop and kind of like talking about him.
With the game clerk.
yeah, because she's talking to her. But I'm saying.
I love
can-
Gaming Mama.
Yeah,
she
she's
was
awesome.
hilarious.
She's fucking awesome.
I like her.
Yeah.
But you could do the same thing where it's like, hey, she's talking to this game clerk, and they're always talking about blah 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 blah, and she doesn't have to be deathly in love with this dude. It could just be like, I seen him passing in and out. Maybe they exchange a word or two, but they don't know each other. They meet each other in this game, and then outside, you know, when they bump into each other at the gaming store, it's like, what are you playing? Well, I'm playing this. Well, what are you playing? I'm playing that. Oh, you're playing that? What's your name? And they can meet that way, and it'll work better for me than I'm hiding in the corner
Jamal
because
doesn't
I've
like too many
always
characters.
secretly loved you.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't
Well,
play
it,
for me.
it shows that her like she's trying at least in the virtual world.
Well, it gets annoying after a while.
It's
so I get it.
it gets annoying for me, but I'm 37.
But she's also, like Martin said, kind of the comic relief. So,
I get
yeah.
what she's for, but he's comic relief too.
Yeah.
Like he has a bird head, and everybody makes fun of him for it.
He doesn't get any armor.
He doesn't. He doesn't. He's trying to get
That's
some
his.
armor.
That's the way he structured his character.
yeah.
Friendly reminder that the one time that they meet IRL, the two times that they meet IRL, the first time he didn't even notice she was in the hallway.
Yeah.
And the second time was
Right.
out in the middle of the street and he barely remembered who she was.
But he
He's
remembered.
he's like, I remember her from school. What's her name again? Which lets you know she likes him, but she's
not
definitely
on his radar.
not on his radar.
Yeah, man.
Not on his radar, but it's like, you know, he loves games and he's doing all this. You could very easily get on his radar.
Yeah.
See, but it's like I have to get into
But
teenager
that's
mode.
not the way that
I
anime.
have to. I get that.
That's not the way.
I
No.
I
like, oh,
get
man.
it. I get it. That's why I
not-
say
That's
it's
not anime.
It's not.
not
It's
anime.
not for me, and that's
Well, we
that's
can-
the part of anime. But that's well beyond anime. That's like Japanese culture.
Yeah,
that like,
that's true.
and that's like that's just.
But
a
that was
cultural
one of the
disconnect.
things that I love so much about Horimiya.
Yes,
It's not like, will they, won't they?
Yes.
They already did.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Another gaming romance, Yamato-kun, 9,900.
Great. Now all I'm thinking about now is our dating story.
Yeah, that too.
Because it's like he went for it. Like,
Yeah.
no, talk. Just talk.
Yeah. Finding a
Like-
way to communicate.
Like the first fight that they have is because they just don't talk, and it's just like, yeah, just talk. Like, open your mouth. And then she kind of did, and it was funny and it was entertaining.
Yeah.
But like, I can get why you're just like, I don't
If you're
want
timid,
this.
give me a story behind why you're timid. Like
they will.
my
They will.
my happy
They-
marriage.
Yeah.
The girl was timid, but she had a story.
Yeah.
So I understood why she was that way, because it's like, oh, you have trauma.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. So I can rock with you.
The third
But-
girlfriend in 100 Girlfriends Who Really Like You is timid, but like she has a weird like psychological thing where she's just not good at speaking with her mouth, like verbally. So like he creates a whole machine for her to speak with a tablet, and like it's sweet.
Yeah. Well, even in Dangers in My Heart, like he was like reluctant.
You know what? I didn't think that you would ever relate some sort of romance to Dangerous in My Heart. It just never crossed my mind that this would happen.
Why?
No. Well, at least one instance of Dangers in My Heart. Because that one's technically parasocial, too.
See, Jamal just hates romances. That's
Ever loved that show. That's why.
That was my number one for the year. That was my number one. For
And mine's
2023.
Tomo-chan as a girl.
Toho-chan is amazing. That was a really good one.
Yeah,
I
the
really
side characters are so.
I didn't like
phenomenally
June
well
in
done.
that. I did not like June at all.
Because you felt he was being timid.
I hated June, and I later on I admit I was too hard on the show
Because of it.
because of June.
To be
Because
fair,
I
June
didn't
is,
like
like
it outside
the
of
least
him.
interesting character.
Thank
in
you.
that entire cast.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, look at who he's going up against some heavy hitters. Some heavy hitters.
We're talking
'cause
about
those two are like
Not only that, but Tomo's dad, Tomo's mom, Tomo,
Yes.
Yeah.
Mizuzu's
The
mom,
whole-
Carol's mom.
He's like he's the
he
worst
is the
character.
weakest link, but it's like you had like they were some of the best villains. Like
Yeah.
out of any anime, like for like, and I don't mean villains in
No,
that,
no,
but
no.
like foils, like,
Yeah.
for him, in that they love Tomo just as much as he realizes later on that he does.
And I'm starting to even appreciate the middle guy, the guy that likes Mizuzu.
Okay.
The
Oh,
retarded guy.
the
he's
trainer.
funny.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah.
He's funny because Mizuzu doesn't not give a fuck.
Mizuzu's
It's
great.
a great cast.
It's a very good cast. It's a very good cast. Again, like I was too hard on it just because I hated June. But it's a good show. Like if I could, in retrospect, I think I gave it like a 6 out of 10. I'd give it more like an 8, 8.5 now.
Yeah.
But like
Just for Carol alone.
the whole like if I could take out June, it would be a lot higher. But it's like a step below
Watch
for
Rent a
me
Girl-
and Kaguya-sama for me.
Watch Rent a
I'm
Girlfriend.
not watching that.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I'm not.
That's a
I'm
character
not.
you would like. June
I'm not
more.
watching Rent a
You like June
Girlfriend.
more.
I'm not watching Rent a Girlfriend.
I'm just saying.
I can already tell, like, the whole premise of Rent a Girlfriend
He's
is
gonna be
already enough. I know I'm not going to like it.
I'm just saying. Like June is not bad compared to him.
It doesn't matter how bad it is. Like Kyle hates the guy in that show. Like he abhors that guy.
That's what I mean.
So it's like, why would you want me to watch something that I was hard enough on Tomo-chan,
Yeah.
and now you want me to watch something worse?
No, but my thing with June is just defending June.
My
I
favorite
don't want to
joke.
defend June. He could have defended, have the writers
in-
defend him by writing a better character. He was very bland, and it's like he was the type of guy where it's like, why would she go for this dude?
Honestly, I'm impressed that Aizawa had more of an interesting personality than June.
Yeah.
Like when they brought him in, I thought he was just gonna be like
Right.
the love rival, and
Right.
he kinda is.
But in a
He's
different
a-
twist. In a different twist of things.
But then, like his interactions with Carol and like the
Yeah.
whole backstory between those two was so amazing.
Yeah,
Well, at a certain point, they're all like, "What's with June?"
yeah.
You know, I think at a certain point, they're all just like shaking their heads, like, "What's with this guy? Why isn't he? You know, like, why isn't this working out? Why does he not get it?" And he has to go through his own thing because he doesn't feel like he's strong enough to keep up with Tomo.
Long story short, he's an idiot.
yeah.
Huh?
He's an idiot. Confused boy.
Well, he didn't realize that he didn't have to keep up with her. and that's where it comes into, and that's what that's what makes Jamal crazy.
Sorry, I just said Aizawa. I meant Misaki.
Misaki,
the
blonde.
Yeah.
Kurt Carroll's
We
cousin.
know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't. Whatever.
Well, we have a little bit of time left. I was about to say, any final words, like any favorite manga you had to say? Or,
Yeah. Give us your favorite manga, because I know you wanted to talk about
just
that.
at least one or two.
Well, I kind of mentioned most of the manga I've been reading.
Well, yeah.
Go Home Akutsu-san is really funny. For an ecchi anime
Yeah.
or ecchi manga, it's really funny.
All right.
There you go.
All right. We're good and gravy. And this is 950 Club signing out.
Thank you guys for joining in. This has been another episode of the 950 Club.
And thank you, Martin, for coming back.
We appreciate it, man. Anytime.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you again for I don't know, once Shangri-La ends. I think it's a good time to have Martin come back and discuss it, and like actual discussing and not like offshoot discussing.
Oh, that was a pretty good discussion.
Right?
I thought so. Yeah.
See, we got this is on audio now. You got to come back.
Yep. You're contractually obligated.
Jack and I still have to talk about Resident Evil Death Island.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, you guys
See,
should do.
you got to
like,
get
look,
you got to get your godson to do
Get my godson in here. The three of you guys will talk nonstop. Well, actually, you should play the game with him. He's got the Resident Evil board games.
No.
You guys should do a playthrough with him
while
you're
talking about it.
Resident Evil.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a great
so.
idea.
To be continued.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening in to 950 Club Anime Podcast. Please like, subscribe, download, and share, and comment, and engage, and let us know what you think of the podcast, along with all things anime and manga. Once again, thank you to Martin, who is an original member of the 950 Club. He's only done one review prior, and that was for Love, Chinubio, and Other Delusions. Hopefully I'll get that episode back up. It was part of our special with Toradora. And yeah, we love Martin to death, and we hope to have many, many other episodes with him as well. And, I must say, our first ever State of Video Gaming was a success. And Martin is a key component with that. And it was just an impromptu, too. It just came out of the whim. And Shangri-La Frontier, once again, is that beacon of hope with video gaming, and at least understanding the culture of video gaming. There are pluses and negatives, but video gaming as a whole is better with an anime like Shangri-La Frontier. So thank you once again, dear listener, and check us out for future episodes down the line. Goodbye.